Good morning, a very happy Republic Day weekend to you, and highest compliments to the senior citizens of Ghana. We appreciate truly all that you've done for Mother Ghana. And as we commemorate the 56th Republic Day, we say a big thank you to you. Welcome to the show. This is New Day, Saturday edition. My name is Abna Tibi. We're coming to you live from the studios of TV3 here in Accra. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, and we are streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. So this week on the show, in the spirit of commemorating the 56th Republic Day anniversary, we will be reflecting on the journey so far as a republic. 56 years on, and we'll be looking at how far we've come. What are some of the challenges we're dealing with since we adopted a national constitution for the first time in 1960, which 6 years later was overthrown by a military coup d'etat, which ushered in the National Liberation Council. A number of military coup d'etats and constitutional governments thereafter. We fast forward to present-day Ghana under the Fourth Republic 1992 Constitution, which has already seen the holding of 6 consecutive presidential and parliamentary elections with 4 presidents. What have we done right? What have we done wrong? And is there scope for us to actually improve on our lot? Because clearly the Fourth Republic seems to be going well, no interruption so far, and we are enjoying some peace and stability. So 56 years after, what has Ghana achieved? Not just any country, but the country that was first to attain independence in sub-Saharan Africa. These and some other issues we'll be looking at when we start discussing this matter. And then we'll take a look at the Electoral Commission again and the Supreme Court, what is happening there. So the Electoral Commission, pursuant to the Supreme Court's orders of 23rd June 2016, presented a list of persons who were deemed to have registered to vote in 2012 with the NHIS cards as proof of nationality. Now, having made available this list to the Supreme Court, what happens next? Where do we go from here? What are the various options for the plaintiffs moving forward? But most importantly, how do we ensure that we go into the polls with a reasonably credible or reasonably accurate voters register so that we can come out of the elections with credible outcomes? And then we'll turn our attention to the mass disconnection exercise by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Now, you do recall that the ECG commenced a nationwide disconnection exercise on the 20th of June in a bid to recover debts owed it by its customers. Now, however, a statement was signed this week by the Ministry of Power, by the Deputy Minister of Power, Mr. John Jinapor, asking the ECG to pretty much exercise caution or go slowly on its disconnection exercise to perhaps or exempt health, educational and security installations. Now we are asking the question, what do we make of this development? Do we find ourselves witnessing a paradox, a situation where we are saying ECG is underperforming or is inefficient for reasons of delivering not unsatisfactory service? Again, ECG inefficient when it comes to collection of revenue. So when they decide to collect revenue, why do we decide to put the brakes on them? We'll be looking at these issues, particularly within the context of the MCA Compact 2, which is pretty much having an imminent private sector participation in the operations of the ECG on our next, as we've looked at a couple of weeks on the show. Lastly, we'll turn our attention to some sexist comments made by the Honourable MP, Mr. Kennedy Japan, MP for Asin North, in respect of the Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Madam Charlotte Osei. We'll be looking at these such comments and how we should not tolerate such comments in our body politics. We'll also tie into that conversation the issue about the pelting of stones on the President's convoy. Is this true? Is this not true? Because we have other stories coming from various sections of the society saying that it didn't happen. Did it happen or did it not happen? We'll be putting the subject to scrutiny, and my panelists will be bringing their perspectives to bear on these matters. This is New Day, Saturday edition. At this point, I'll bring in the panelists. We have Dr. Ahmed Jinapor. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. Next to him is Mr. Abraham Amaliba. He is a legal practitioner and a member of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. And we have here next to me, Honorable Obi Amwa, NPP MP for Ikwapim South constituency. We're expecting another panelist to join us. As and when he comes in, we'll see if we can bring him on. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great. I outlined a number of issues. We'll be starting off with the Supreme Court orders to the EC and where we're going from here. So the Electoral Commission, pursuant to the directives or the orders of the Supreme Court made on the 23rd of June to furnish the court with with a list of persons who registered with the NHIS cards in 2012 to vote. The EC actually presented the list, and this is where we are at now. We are asking what happens next. Honorable, I'll start from you.
Very well.
Where do we go from here?
Thank you and good morning to our viewers and listeners, and to you and fellow panelists.
Good morning.
As you rightfully said, where do we go from here? Well, we are told that on 5th July, the Supreme Court will take a decision on what EC has submitted. Now, we are also told that EC has presented a list of 56,793 as those who registered with National Health Insurance cards during the 2012 registration. Now, the EC is saying that that is the accurate figure. They stand by the figure, and anybody who has contrary opinion or figures should present them. The plaintiffs, especially we've heard from Abu Ramadan, who is saying that he doubts the figures. So we are hoping that maybe Tuesday, the plaintiffs will be given the opportunity to show why they doubt the figures, and the EC will be given the opportunity to confirm that these are accurate figures. That is how it should go. The court, Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, they have to decide on these matters. But we should also, on our own, try to interrogate this whole thing. I've said it here before, that we shouldn't have been in this situation. Because as far back as 2014, July, the Supreme Court had given a decision that those who used the cards to register in 2012 and actually voted, as at that time, they hadn't done anything wrong. But going forward, they should not be allowed to have their names on the register. And if anything at all, they should be registered. Initially, the impression we had was that the EC did not appear to understand the ruling of the Supreme Court, which is very unfortunate, because it's 2 years down the line. So after all the debates and commentaries and opinions, Abu Ramadan and Evans Nimakun felt they should go back to court. And then the Supreme Court made it emphatic. This is what we said: take steps immediately to have these names removed, and then those who are qualified to be re-registered. Still, opinions came out, and then the unfortunate part was even the EC itself giving the impression that they didn't really know what they were supposed to do, to the extent that eventually they even said that they heard the plaintiffs wanted to go back to court, so they were waiting. Now they went back to court, and the court is saying that give us a list and tell us how soon we can carry out our orders. What I find strange, which nobody can convince me that it's not strange, is to tell us that throughout the country, out of the 14 million or so registered voters, only 56,000 registered with National Health Insurance cards. Now, if you break it down, it's even more strange. We have constituencies with voter population of about 55,000, recording 0. My constituency, about over 30,000.
But why is it strange, Honorable?
That is strange in the sense that the EC itself and the Attorney General in 2014 told the courts that the health insurance card was the easiest form of identification and that millions had registered with the card. They told the court. When Abu Ramadan went to court that that card should not be used because it's unconstitutional. EC defended the use of the card. The Attorney General defended the use of the card. And they said that that was the most common. Indeed, that was the reason the EC even gave to convince Parliament to approve the use of the card. It was eventually that it turned out that even the card, so many people had procured a card, and that those who registered with it could not or were not obliged to prove that they were Ghanaians. I'm saying that it's strange because as we speak now, I'm sure the plaintiff will demand more access. For instance, during the registration exercise in 2012, the EC, apart from the forms they used scanners. So the assumption is that once you scanned the form, you had secured the information electronically. So where are the scanners? That's number one. Number two, it turns out that even on the EC form, if you compare 2012 registration with 2014 registration, on the EC form, they only have NID. Indeed, when they came to Parliament to do the CI-91, that's the new registration, new constitutional instrument for registration, they were reminded to list the cars,
the specific cards
that prospective registrants will use, because in the 2012 form 1A, they only had national identification documents. So all that was filled was in that column. Come 2014, if you look at their training manual, they have separated it, national identification and the national health insurance. And then come 2016, they've separated it, listing national identification, driver's license, passport, and then those who go by guarantors.
But if, Honorable, sorry to cut you, but if in 2012 it was a national identification card that was listed, then how easy or difficult is it for us, or would it be for the EC to distinguish?
That is why some have said right from the beginning that it was difficult for the EC to distinguish, but it was their own making. Because you can't list the form of identity I should provide and then only provide for only one. The attention was even drawn to it.
Very well. I will go to Dr. Janata.
Let him explain.
Yes, what I'm saying is that in 2012, we were required to either produce a driver's license, produce National Identification Authority card, produce National Health Insurance card, or passport.
Sure,
Four. And then, if you didn't have any of this, we could bring in a guarantor. But unfortunately, on the form 1A that EC itself will fill for you when you appear before them, the only box they had was NID. The assumption was that if I brought a passport, then you also
qualify as an NID.
Sorry?
It would qualify as a national identity card. Or
No,
NID means what?
National ID.
That's the question we will even ask them. What does NID mean? Is it national identification document or what?
Yeah, because D. D is
You
not
understand?
hard, yeah.
So the assumption was that if I brought a passport, a driver's license, national health insurance card, you indicate and then put down the detail. My passport number, my driving license number, health insurance number, or the National Identification Authority card. That was the assumption. So it should be easy for you to say that he registered,
with this
doc
particular
registered, but this is a document he used, so I can go for it. And then you went further to even scan it, so that you secure your information. Now, if you did not identify that, how were you able to get the 56,000 that you've produced? How?
Well, I believe those, yes, well, those are the interrogations that would
is
go
it that
into
some
it.
filled and some didn't fill? Or later on, we even heard that they said if you have certain number of digits, then it shows that it's health insurance, but not identification card or whatever. So that is the issue that, number one issue that we should look at. Number two, are all the documents intact? Have some been destroyed by EC officials or by the act of God? flash, etc.
Honourable, those are issues that, yes, we'll be going into. Perhaps we need not preempt it.
No, we're not preempting it.
Because,
That's why I said that we need to
Or
discuss it.
The list would be subjected to some scrutiny at some point,
That's
yes.
why I even hear that. I heard this morning Philip Addison saying that as was done during the election petition, maybe the professional audit team should be asked to look at what has been submitted and then bring their opinion. Because when the EC the Supreme Court gave the order, there was frantic effort from the EC. They gave instructions to their officers within days to gather them and look for the forms. My own personal checks, which I will not disclose.
Honourable, if you could be wrapping up so I move on to...
Indicate that the EC officials were confused. They didn't know what they had to do because they picked the forms and then they came back and said 0. Why 0? He said, we couldn't identify anything on the form to indicate that the person registered
with National Health.
With National Health.
Very well. Dr. Jinapo,
Let me say.
do you see the plaintiffs perhaps going back?
Well, it's
court?
It's quite interesting. Interesting because, for me, I think Ghanaians are getting fatigued about this whole NHIS brouhaha, and legitimately so, because I mean we are now 4 to 5 months to elections, and we still haven't gotten the fundamentals right. You know, I find it quite worrying. And if you remember, I mean, Honorable gave a chronology of how things happened right from 2014 to where we are. But I think the last time that Mr. Abu Ramadan went to court, what he was seeking for was the the Supreme Court to, I mean, quote and unquote, give an interpretation as to what their ruling was, because it looks as if there was some kind of ambiguity.
You're talking about the instant application.
It looks as if.
Right.
That was why Abu Ramadan went back.
For the clarification,
whatever
yes.
it is. Clarification, because there were different interpretations being given to it, and depending on which side of the political pendulum you swing to. And as a matter of fact, the catchword was existing laws. So the Supreme Court asking the Electoral Commission to provide it with the lists of NHIS card holders was something that came out of I mean, for me it was a surprise, because that wasn't what the gentleman went there to. Because the whole idea was that, look, people with NHIS cards, their names should be deleted and they should be given the opportunity to what? To register again.
Yes.
That was how I understood it.
Yeah.
But the EC was saying that, look, they didn't say they should be deleted. They said they should be deleted based on the existing laws. So if you remember, the Supreme Court told them that, look, do you have the list of people who register for NHIS cards? They said yes. Okay, bring it, and most importantly, give us the roadmap and the way you are going to delete it. Yes. And I'm quite surprised that the way it's going to be deleted, which for me was the basis of the debate, seems to have vanished. You understand? The whole thing was bordered on, look, it is agreed that people who register with NHIS cards, their names should be deleted. But
the
you are
how
saying
is the issue.
The how is the issue, because the EC was saying that, look, let's use the existing mechanism, exhibition. If we have more things that Dr. Jinapo are registered with NHIS cards, you should come in. Then the other, no, and the opposition was saying that, no, I wouldn't say the opposition, let's say Abu Ramadan and Co, because it's not an opposition issue. Abu Ramadan and Co was saying, no, you can't do that. The man is saying, the people are saying that, look, delete the names. So tell us how we are going to delete them. And even some propositions were made that, look, publish the names, and so that is...
So that's what Supreme Court has said.
Yeah, that is the gravamen of this whole debate. But you see, Honorable, I have a position on this issue. This thing, I think, as a people, we didn't think through it. We didn't think through it. In the sense that from the onset, even during the what do they call it, the Supreme Court case between the MPP and the petition, people didn't even allude their mind to the issue of NHIS card being an issue. If you ask me, I think fundamentally the MPP as a political party, even though it's Abu Ramadan who is making this case in court, the MPP believes that something did not go right in terms of the number of people who were supposed to vote. That being the voters' register was corrupted. You understand what I'm saying?
And which really is not in dispute.
There's a difference between bloated and corrupted.
But I think that the consensus really is that
it's bloated.
It is reasonably
bloated.
Inaccurate. It's been adjudged as such.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Inaccurate.
Yes. So they think something something is not right. And one of those vehicles upon which this register was bloated or whatever was the NHIS card. So we need to purge ourselves of these people. I don't know how we are going to do it, because you see, the reality on the ground is that the EC is the only institution in this country that has the documentation. And if you remember, I think the Chief Justice during this whole, the recent one, asked the Abu Ramadan lawyers that if they can assist the EC with further information, you know. So if based on what Honorable is saying, on the form 1A or whatever is NID, then the guy is saying that the NID, we have 56,000 people who register with NHIS card. They will have to show how they came by that figure. That one, there's no doubt about it. But if what they claim is the basis for arriving at that figure is one that you do not agree to, you have to give us an alternative. What is going to happen is that, and that's why I started by saying Ghanaians are fatigued, and legitimately so. What is going to happen is this case is going to keep on dragging.
But at some point we need to see an end to it.
The Supreme Court will have to be bold and bring finality to it.
Very well. Now, Mr. Maliba, Dr. Jinapor raised an issue. He said something about, he found it strange that the Supreme Court actually made those orders for the EC to furnish it with the list of persons who registered with the NHIS cards in 2012. And I mean, I have been thinking along those lines too, because technically speaking, you know that when judgment is given, and in the unless there's a likelihood of a clarification, the court pretty much is functus officio. They've dealt with the issue. So when you're raising or making such orders, which clearly looks like fresh orders, then the question about whether or not the court perhaps, whether they acted out of jurisdiction comes in. What do you think about that? I think that's a fundamental thing to this matter.
Let me say good morning to your viewers. I do not think that the Supreme Court erred in doing what it did by requesting that the parties, or for that matter, EC, should provide them with a list. A court would give orders knowing that those orders can be obeyed. So the Supreme Court was preparing the grounds to be able to make the clarification, and the clarification was going to come in the form of an order. So no court will give an order knowing that it is going to be arduous, difficult, impossible to comply with. So those were preparatory stages for the Supreme Court to have last Thursday or this Friday to give the orders until we were hit by another protest from the respondent and his lawyers. What does Abu Ramadan and his lawyers want at all? That is a question that we have to ask.
Clarification, presumably, of the orders of May 5th, right?
At all. First, you said the EC should remove the names. The EC said it will do that in accordance with law. You said no. You went to court. No, you said you want immediate automatic deletion.
Never.
Immediate steps to.
Charlotte should sit in an air-conditioned office, take the register, Dr. Jinapor, NHI, take off. Amalba, HI, off. And then make orders to the district offices to also sit down in their air-conditioned offices. I think the district don't have air conditioning, but they have offices. To also do the same thing. But the EC said that I am governed by law. Yesterday, last week, I heard my colleague, Doc, say that deletion means deletion. No, deletion doesn't mean deletion. In electoral processes, every step of the Electoral Commission is regulated by law. The EC cannot say, it's not the ordinary meaning, the dictionary meaning, deletion. No. If you behave that way, they will send you to court. So the EC is guided by laws. Deletion in ordinary can be deletion, but deletion in EC's laws doesn't mean you can just remove people's names like that. Now, you went to court, and I must congratulate the EC for being able to compile the list. Because when the order came, I said, this is too much for EC. I don't think they can do it. I said it. But I commend them for being able to produce that list. The list has been presented. Then you hear Abu Ramadan and his lawyers that it is what? Forged, spurious, what words were they using? and they are not, that's not all the list. You are a lawyer. He's also a lawyer. Evidence decree, section 162, copies of writings in official custody. It is presumed that...
It's genuine.
Yes, it is presumed that a document, writing, emanating from the proper custody is presumed in law to be genuine. Unless you have a contrary view. And I think that's what the justices did by saying that, well, it's a presumption. Can you rebut it? If you can rebut it, then bring your own list. But you see, their list will be doubtful because they are not the proper source.
Why are you?
No, I'm just telling them that they shouldn't think that when they bring any list, that list will supersede. The judges will take these principles into consideration.
Exactly.
Who has the proper custody of the document?
Exactly.
So they can't also go and just sit down.
So.
They can't just also go and sit in their MPP headquarters and then bring a list and think that will supersede.
But the plaintiffs, Abu Ramadan is not.
No, they are a sidekick of MPP. Now, the point is that...
But you know that's very unfair.
We will not...
So to go back to his sidekick of NDC.
Oh, yes, he has agreed. Yeah, I take it for him. Yes.
Okay.
Now, the point is simply this. We have gotten to this stage because we have an applicant who says that he will not let these electoral processes go on.
Oh, how can you see that?
Now, the Supreme Court on Tuesday will decide on these matters. I think that, in my candid opinion, the Supreme Court should voice out and bring finality to this matter. You see, all these things that is happening in court is more political than legal because some people have been targeted by this argument of the energy hikers. The argument that started all this was that in the lead up to the 2012 election, the NDC, through the National Health Insurance Program, had created cards for Togolese and presented to them to come and register. So this is an attempt targeting at a group of people.
But the thing is, Mr. Maliba, respectfully, plaintiffs, go to court because they have an issue.
Yes.
And then the courts would then determine whether or not their issue is sustainable or not. So really, if all those allegations you're putting out there, is why the plaintiffs went to court. We'll see definitely with the outcome of
they are
the court's ruling.
disappointed. That's my continuation. They are disappointed that when the list came, it did not reflect their thinking that some cards were prepared for a group of people for them to be part of the register. So that's what.
But was it their thinking, or that was the EC and the AG's position as well? Because during the proceedings, they had made mention of given an idea as to the numbers. So it's not really about.
I go to court as a lawyer. I need to convince the judge. I put in my application that if you grant this application, it will cause irreparable damage to my client. The application is refused. Has my client ever died for the court not being able to give me my relief? So the fact that they said that 1 million or majority of Ghanaians used the NHI card did not mean that half.
Mr. Maliba, but that's a court, that's a court of competent jurisdiction, a court of law, a court of records. You're making such pronouncement before a judge or justices of the Supreme Court for that matter. You don't say things like
that. When they said that, when the lawyer said that, they didn't literally go to count. You understand? They didn't literally go to count.
But wouldn't you want
the number of people
when you're making
who use the NHI card? So for you to now hold them to their affidavit and say that because they said half of Ghanaians or majority of Ghanaians or millions of Ghanaians,
but why can't we hold them to their affidavits? An affidavit, you're deposing to facts.
I'm saying that, but you know that clearly they did not count the number of people who use the NHI before they made those statements in the affidavit. Okay. So you can't hold them to that. So would we say that was an irresponsible comment, perhaps, or something?
If you're saying something that you haven't really, it's an affidavit for crying out loud.
Believed. It is what you believe. When you are drawing out your affidavit, don't you say you believe? It is your belief. It doesn't mean that that is the actual situation. So I think that there's more to it.
Take their words
there's more like that, to this. There's more to this than just calling for the EC to provide a list. They also indicated that the list couldn't have been provided because there's no portion, as he was alluding. There's no portion that indicates that you use National Health Insurance card. So the question is, if you knew that, and that's what the Chief Justice asked them, if you knew that, why are we here? Why are we here if you knew that? So I think that on Tuesday, finality must be brought to this matter. And I'm having a sense that the applicant himself is even fatigued because he said that he said in a radio interview that he thinks that this is going to be the last time for him to go, and I pray that it should be the last time.
He said it's going to be the last time.
Yes.
Well, yes, honourable.
Thank you. My good friend Maliba is very good at mixing law with propaganda. If you don't look at the fine line,
The nuances of it.
you may think he's talking all law, but part is propaganda. It's very unfortunate because in the first place, the Supreme Court never used any word like automatic.
Oh,
It said immediate.
We talked about automatic.
Taking immediate steps.
I'm sitting here saying which people?
I'm saying that you and your lawyer say that there should be automatic deletion.
Where?
I'm not saying the Supreme Court.
Well, have I ever come here to say that?
I'm not saying the Supreme Court said that.
You are sitting here saying that dog said delete. So every people will sit in their bedroom and say,
Yeah, that's the
we take it.
interpretation. Yes,
This
that's
is
what you
pure
wanted.
propaganda.
That's
This is
what
not
you
law.
wanted. That's what you wanted.
It's not law. Under
That's
the
what-
CI,
that's what you
there
wanted.
are processes through which you go through to be able to
the
delete
deletions.
anybody's name. You fill a form. Form 7 will tell you that you raise objection either by the registered voter or by the EC itself for that name to be deleted. So are you here? They said their own questions and answer them. Automatic. They say automatic. Where is automatic under the law? Nobody has said automatic. Otherwise, why would the Supreme Court say that bring the list and give us a roadmap? That is the issue. So please, let's look at what is at stake and stop setting our own questions and answering them. Otherwise, we muddy the waters and then we turn law into propaganda, which is very unfortunate. Secondly, why should we say anybody is disappointed? The Attorney General and the EC said that majority of persons who registered use a health insurance card. That's number one. Number two, the Supreme Court has said that those who registered with health insurance card, identify them, delete their names, and then let's give them the opportunity to re-register. They didn't say those who are dead or those who are minors. Because
Talk about minors here.
those dead cannot come and re-register. Minors, if they attempt to register again,
They'll be arrested.
They'll be arrested. It's an offense. They were talking about health insurance. Give them the opportunity to re-register. So if the EC claims that they had only 56,000, and the 56,000 will be given the opportunity to re-register, where is the disappointment? Mind you, with all due respect, this EC is not an EC that they will just say something, everybody should believe it. I speak with authority on this matter. When we went to Supreme Court, 2013 petition, they had filled the pink sheets with those who voted without verification. They had filled those pink sheets. When they asked them, they said it was a mistake. When they asked them, they said they told the officers not to fill it, but they filled it. And they wanted everybody to believe it. And because they had possession of all the documents and we didn't have possession, the Supreme Court allowed it to go. Go and read Justice Doche's decision on this matter. And then you come and tell me that everything you say, I should believe it. When you yourself, you've designed a form and you give it a column where people can vote without verification. And your officers filled with numbers, figures to show that these are the people who voted without verification. You came to court to say that nobody voted without verification. You came to court to say that. As we speak now, you said 241,000 persons were registered abroad. You brought only 7,000. Out of the 7,000, even there was double registration. And you think that because you have come to say it as a public institution, everybody should believe it. So we shouldn't create the impression that a public institution can do their work anyhow. Everybody should accept it because it's a public institution. What is your track record? At least for the past lessons, just immediate lessons, you have proven that you haven't been diligent in your work. Otherwise, why would you create a form, create a column where there should be no column? And your officers, whatever training you gave them, your officers fill those places. Now, go and look at their manual, their training manual, even for 2012 and 2014, when it came to registration. It's entirely different from even the law, where they even say that people can come with their birth certificates. Go and look at the training manual. How did they end up with such training manual? And you think that because it's an electoral commission, everything that they say, we should believe it. They should show us that they are doing thorough job and diligent job. That's why the judges at least said that we will not allow you to send this country to chaos. Because what you are doing, how come 2 good years?
The judges now know who are those sending this.
How come 2 good years you've been asked to do a certain work? You've been ordered and you still go back. I don't understand it. And you think 5 months to lessons. If you still say I don't understand, that's the end of the matter.
But Honorable, clearly, Mr. Maliba, I'll be coming to you. You want to react to something he said?
You got
no. He talked about.
When I was talking, I didn't react.
Very well, so he cannot. But let me just put this out there. Maybe in response, you could actually say whatever it is you have to say.
Who allowed this to happen in this country?
Clearly, we don't have time on our hands.
That is exactly what the NDC.
And we don't have
exactly
time.
what the NDC and EC wants.
No, but
by time
the
whole world will say that we don't have time.
I'm trying to look at this from a very non-partisan way because clearly.
Why has it taken you 2 years?
Honorable, please let me land. We are looking at a situation which is serious. We don't have time at all.
Yes.
5 or 4 months away from the polls, and we are still grappling with this issue. For me, moving forward, how do we ensure that we transform what has been adjudged to be reasonably incredible or reasonably inaccurate to something that is reasonably accurate or credible?
Said that you don't need a credible register
so that we move on knowing that this is... Do we need to begin talking consensus or stakeholder engagement, perhaps?
Yes.
I mean, how long has it taken us for us
to be in this situation? Yes, please allow Mr. Maliba to come in and then,
yes. Situation? And who do you blame? People don't even have the decency to even resign.
Please.
I think that it is now about consensus building where we have gotten to. If we desire to have the elections in November, 7th November, there's a need for...
Which in itself has its own issues because we still don't know whether... but yes, before Parliament, very well.
And they can be recalled at any time. They have been elected to make laws, not to go and
not to go and whether to test or accept it.
Now,
that's another issue.
Bringing something up.
So I like to work with the December 7th because that is...
It is for them. They will oppose everything.
No, Mr. Maliba, please let's focus.
Something which is...
You need to...
Honorable, please allow Mr. Maliba to...
Don't pass it.
Maliba, carry on, please.
Now,
get your
the way forward.
Now, the EC has a track record of delivering elections in this country. They've delivered elections which has resulted in the MPP winning 2. And they delivered elections which the NDC has won. Now, consensus building is key in this matter. There hasn't been any perfect register anywhere. Indeed, I'm sure the Brexit referendum, if you went there, you would have found that that register they used for the Brexit was not also perfect. You understand? Yeah, so you cannot have a perfect register anywhere.
Honorable, please. It's true, Mr. Maliba. Yes, so we are pursuing reasonably credible.
What we can do is to have a reasonable,
credible or reasonably register. Accurate one. Yes.
And I think that's what the Supreme Court is helping us to achieve. Bring the list. They have brought the list. You say you are not satisfied. How many number of votes, how many number of ID cards coming from the NHI cards would be acceptable to the plaintiff? How many?
I think the EC or the AG set its own standard when it made those things, those depositions in the affidavits.
How many? So I think that it is proper for the EC together with IPAC to sit down and come to a certain conclusion and allow the political parties to also have a clear view of the list and how they generated the list. I think that would suit everybody's heart. But I dare say that there is no other way than to have a register which is reasonable, credible, but cannot be perfect. You can't have
that definitely not. We can never have a perfect situation, but the key word here is a reasonableness of it. Yes.
And I think that that's what we should head towards. The process has been started, and I think that from the Supreme Court, they should send it to IPAC, because the Supreme Court will have ruled on it, send it to IPAC for consensus building, and then we move forward.
Doc, I mean, clearly, yes. I mean, talking about consensus building, stakeholder engagement, who is to initiate this?
Well, I think,
Given the sort of environment we find ourselves, clearly there's so much mistrust.
Yes, yes.
There's so much mistrust.
Yes, and legitimately so. Legitimately so, because that's why I said I think as a people, we missed it some way when the case went to the Supreme Court, because the reason why the NPP took the case to the Supreme Court was because they thought they won the elections, and they think something untoward had happened. So, like it or hate it, they were definitely going to look for where the cause is. And I think based on their investigations, even though they are not the people in court,
just to correct you.
Yes.
In the first place, we are never shy or afraid to be part of this case.
Of course. I mean, Evans
he was
my classmate.
Yes,
and my
I had an
roommate.
MPP member.
Oh, no,
so nobody
he was my
should create the
roommate.
impression that we are scared and we are hiding in Abu Ramadan.
I said
There's plenty. One is PNC, one is MPP.
Evans Nimaku was my roommate.
Yes.
So you know him through.
He was my
Well, so it's established now. NPP.
MPP is interested in this matter.
Yes.
He was my
Doc,
roommate.
please carry on.
But I think, as you said, consensus building. I think the right or the right body to initiate and foster this consensus is the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court rules, it's going to bring finality to this issue. And that is why I said they need to be bold to rule on this issue and try and solve. But having said that, I think, seriously speaking, moving forward, we will have to look at the means of identifying who a Ghanaian is. It's very, very important. Because look, don't you think it's even ironic that in this country, birth certificate is not used as a basis for nationality?
Yes.
I mean, birth certificate is not used as a basis. Ironically, driver's license is used as a basis. And I ask myself, if you go to get a driver's license, do you show a proof of nationality?
But it's indicated on the license whether you are Ghanaian
yes,
or not.
But as to whether it proves that, yes.
You don't show any proof of nationality. You know, so I think, yes, I don't want to jump the distance. I just wait for the Supreme Court to give a ruling. As to whether there's going to be a new register overall, I doubt it. I doubt it.
That's what they want.
Yeah, I doubt it. Whether there's going to be a new register. But you see, let's say it. The reality on the ground is that we've used certain registers in this country to conduct elections that were not as good as what we have today.
But yes, I mean...
Let me finish. In 2000, you can say for a fact, when you compare the voter register in 2000 to what we have today, this 2000's own is nowhere near. But Kufuor won elections. Kufuor won in 2008. I'm not trying to justify what we have today, but I'm saying that in elections, I'm listening. You can bloat the register as much as anything. When the tide is against you, it's against you. It's a fact. When the wind is against you, you can bring whatever people. Those people even come and vote against you. It's a fact. We've seen it.
You see, with bloated registers, you have a number of issues. You could have for multiple registrations.
Yes.
You could have foreigners registering.
Agreed.
The instant situation we have is that of foreigners, which has been deemed to be unconstitutional in respect of Article 42.
I can tell you for a fact that, look, the foreigners, even if they are foreigners in the register, they are no more than the Ghanaians. Even if they are foreigners, they are no more than Ghanaians. So, look, I hope by Tuesday, this thing is ended. The NDC, the NPP, should go on the ground and try to convince us Ghanaians why we should vote for them. That, for me, is the most important thing. Tell us why we should vote for you. That is very important. This particular thing, I think it's becoming too much of a distraction. There are pertinent issues that we want to hear from President Mahama and Nanado, what they are going to do about it. We are going to talk about electricity. We're going to talk about disconnection of universities. I teach at the university. I know how it is. You know, we want to see how the president is addressing it, and we want to see what Nanado will do to deal with it. So I'm just pleading with the Supreme Court. They should bring finality to this issue. I mean, they've dealt with more serious issues. You remember the Supreme Court, what do they call it? The petition. They dealt with it. So,
but the laws are clear on who a Ghanaian is.
Agreed.
It's
Yes,
very clear.
clearly.
Yeah.
Very clear.
It's very
once you can show that
Yes.
one of your grandparents is a Ghanaian, you are a
But
Ghanaian.
honorable,
Once you
lawyer,
can show.
when you went to
One
collect
of
your
your
driver's, when you went to
ma-
collect your driver's license, did you?
No,
did
I'm
you show
coming.
that?
I'll get to your point. I'm saying that for
Right, you want to
the
take your
nationality,
turn again.
for the nationality, for the nationality,
Yes.
it has been
Yes.
settled.
Yes.
And I made a point. Just one, if you can show one of your Ghanaian,
That's all
grandparents
that
are Ghanaian,
it's
you are
required,
Ghanaian.
yes.
So that is
No, but
clear.
I'm asking that
But
when you
the
go
issue-
to
Right.
We should not be cloud the issues. The Supreme Court said all the documents that you said we could present for us to be able to register and vote. Those documents show whether you are Ghanaian or not.
Yeah.
But for health insurance, it
doesn't.
doesn't show.
It doesn't. Yeah.
So we think that in spite of all your strenuous defense before us, that thing should not be allowed.
I think it's a legitimate. It's a
Yes,
legitimate.
clearly it is, and then that's
That's
what
what health
we move on. Yes,
insurance-
Amaliba.
But even there, even though the others have shown that you are a Ghanaian or not Ghanaian, and the NHIA did not show,
Yeah.
the same argument put forward against the NHIA cards can be put forward against those cards.
But
Exactly, but it hasn't come
That's
up
what
yet.
he has been saying.
Those haven't come up
They
yet.
can
We
go
are
to court
dealing
case.
with the facts as it is,
if
which
you believe
is
that
that
somebody is holding a passport,
it's the
but
NHIA,
you can-
which is a
you can
contention.
procure the passport anyhow.
Please
Not because-
let me read some messages. But
Not
first of
because-
all, I'm announcing that we have a new WhatsApp line, which is 0500-607070. Again, 0500-607070. I'm sure it'll be displayed at the bottom of your screen. So please watch out and send your messages to that number. We're taking a message from, this is Alukus in Tamale. He says, good morning. Mr. Obiamwa, we need to build stronger institutions as a nation to regulate our body politics. I thought in the aftermath of the landmark case in 2012 at the Supreme Court, our elections shall never be the same. We must watch the little things we do as a nation, for a small leak can sink a great ship. The EC must be seen to be above reproach and operate as an independent body as they claim. We need to come out from the elections of 2016 as a stronger nation under the new leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Change is coming, let's get involved. This one says, this is Simon in Walawal. He says, our current voters register is incurably flawed and a new credible voters register is the surest way out to a peaceful election. I wonder how that would be. AU Farouk in Tamale says, good morning to you, Abna, and to your panel, special comrade lawyer Amaliba. Honestly, one wonders the motive of Abu Ramadan and his lawyers, but soon we will expose them and their paid masters. Ghana must move forward. This is Aram in Adente. Says, good morning to you, Abna, and your panelists. The Supreme Court says if Abu Ramadan and co have any other figures rather than what EC provided, they should submit it to the court. Let Honorable Obiamwa help if he can, so we can move on and prepare for the elections. Abna, how can someone vote if you aren't a registered voter, since it's a biometric process? The issue of the register not being credible has been overblown. Let's just allow the system to work, really. Yes. Why can't the NPP leave this matter of the voters register, which is a clear case of a wild goose chase, and concentrate on effective and efficient party organization and party political campaign? Their defense of the Abu Ramadan case at the Supreme Court lacks substance and both circumstantial and material evidence. They are almost, it's quite lengthy. They are almost always stripped naked on this matter anytime it is raised in an intellectual discourse of any form. The strategy of the NPP and their surrogates is to attack the integrity of the Electoral Commission. The strategy lacks thorough analysis and hence its inability to stand the test of time in both the law court and court of public opinion. This is Salia Alhaji Muhammad Salifira. I wish Madam Charlotte Osei, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, the best of the period of her stewardship. May Allah make her successful and stronger to swallow all insults. She is indeed a good mother. And this is Alhaji Mahama. We'll take a...
Before you take a break, let me
No,
but we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Somebody sent me a text message that you guys, the figure you're putting on your screen
It's wrong.
is wrong.
Oh, which one is this?
793.
Okay, I'm sure the producers have heard it. They will work on that.
So try.
Yes,
try.
very well.
They've cleared
Thanks
themselves
for
by
that.
saying over
They've done.
50. They
Okay.
even said over 6,000.
Great. We'll move on now to the sexist comments made by Honorable. I see you back on in June.
Yes, indeed. I wanted to respond to a
When
few
its time
comments.
comes,
Okay.
Briefly.
Briefly, please, and then yes.
I like Dr. Jinapo's posture that even if it's foreigners, they can vote an incompetent and unpopular government out. 2, very predictably, I think he's representing a section of Ghanaians who will say that Manenka, Famanyame, let's move on. And that is exactly what the EC has planned to do in this direction. He also made a point about consensus. You cannot build consensus when there's no trust. If you tell me that a population of 100,000 registered voters, only 5 use national health insurance card, and the average person, even the small boy walking on the street, doesn't believe this, how do you sit at the table for consensus? Because you, the person running the show, you are seen not to be credible.
Very well. I think we don't need to.
The belief of the MPP.
Is
this country rule in accordance with
the
way?
No, that's fine. We won't go into this issue. We'll be moving on.
You are a reasonable person.
Honorable and Mr. Maliba, we are moving on now. I think Honorable, you made your point, which is fine. We are moving on. We are moving on.
I can say that. Let me use my time for 1st July to continue with this.
No, please. We'll move on now. We're going to. We're moving on now.
On the street, we have to believe and have trust in the institution that we all
very well,
pay to run.
which we need to work towards creating trust between the parties and the EC. That's well noted.
You tell me that 55,000
Honorable, we are moving on now to look at the rather unfortunate sexist comments made by the MP for Asin North, Mr. Kennedy Ejapon, in respect of the Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei. Indeed, this has received a number of condemnation from all sectors, and I think in no uncertain terms it's been condemned thoroughly. But we are bringing it up for discussion briefly, and we'll see how we need to perhaps moving forward deal with such situations or occurrences, or perhaps not even allow such things to occur in our body politics. Dr. Jinapo,
you want to start with me?
Yes, please. I want to.
I don't have a problem.
I think
let me start.
It will be fair to start with them.
It's good for you to bring this topic. I'm also surprised that even during the week, people have started on radio, threatening Supreme Court judges, threatening to kill them like how they were killed some years ago. That's the day before Mother's Day.
Is that a new agenda?
No, Mr. Honorable, please.
That's
yes, I get
agenda.
it. We're looking that is putting it within the bigger context of unsavory language being used.
Are you the one to tell me how to start?
Please, no. Honorable,
are you the one to tell me how?
Honorable,
I'm saying
let's just
judges.
we will come to that, please.
You are talking about pronouncements.
Yes, but I'm looking specifically at
on the sexist attack against the church.
Exactly.
And
that is up for discussion now.
This same week, this is what has gone on. I'll come to that.
Very well.
Is he the one to tell me how to?
Amaliba, yes.
When you go
you will have your turn,
does anybody stop you?
But Honorable, please carry on. Let's digress. Yes.
I'm saying that this very week, people have sat on radio in this same Supreme Court situation and threatened people. The Bar Association has even issued a statement that these people should be dealt with. That is very serious and dangerous. Now, I would never sit anywhere to attack a person when I don't have any proof. To say that somebody secured her position through dubious means or through unconscionable means. I will never do that. And I will also not sit here and judge anybody. What I can say is that in public discourse, we should be civil. One, the person that you're attacking has every right to go to court if you malign or defame him or her. And that's the person's right. Now, to stand in public or be in the media and then attack persons, and then maybe days after you still not be able to substantiate what you have said, is very serious. And for public officers, ministers, MPs, politicians, we should never condone this. If you care to know, sometimes when I'm called for programs, I want to know who's on the other side. If I think the person coming is just coming to create confusion, I walk away. After all, I'm not obliged to come for any public discussion. What I'm saying is that what Kennedy is alleged to have said, because unfortunately or strangely, I haven't listened to any of the comments. I haven't listened to even the tape that is being played around. It was supposed to be the launch of a campaign, 2016 campaign for Madam Patricia J. She invited all of us. Some of us couldn't go. Now here at that function, then he descended on Madam Charlotte Osei. everybody has condemned it. People who haven't even listened to it, they've gone ahead to condemn.
Because he hasn't come out to deny it.
Of course, he hasn't come out to deny it. And I'm saying that it's regrettable and unfortunate if that's what he said. If he has proof, he should bring the proof so that the matter will end. Some are saying he should apologize. I also think that Mrs. Osei has every right to pursue it in court or demand apology. And if the apology doesn't come, take her own steps.
But yes, indeed, okay. Yes. I mean, she has all that is open to her. But the thing is, looking at such statements coming from a person who is considered as...
I have condemned it. I have said that it's regrettable. I haven't listened to it, so I don't... what I've read is what I'm trying to comment on. But sometimes this country is a very funny country.
Well, I see where you're going. We'll go into that. But please, yes, the bigger context of unsavory language. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I know where you're going. We'll talk about it.
People jumping on it, Facebook, this is against women. What people said and done against women that those so-called
honorable, but like we keep saying,
defenders have not mentioned anything.
Don't make a right.
I agree. But you have a situation where people even video people in sexual acts.
And then they are condemned on their merit or demerit. For every issue that comes up.
Their voices now, they don't do it. But I'm saying that if you want to set standards and principles, let's stick by them.
But where you have an honorable member of parliament who is supposed to be a standard bearer, if you like, descending to such debts, then it becomes a bit questionable.
I'm defending him.
No, I totally agree. I'm not saying that at all. Yes. Not at all. Not at all.
Those who have listened and those who have picked those words, they should go. After all, people said the president's convoy was stoned when people didn't even know it. They have come to condemn it.
Well, we'll be going into that as well. Doc, I'll come to you by that. Doc, please.
So that is my position and situation. Let's be principled. Let's be civil in our discourse. Those who go off the line, they should be brought back to line. If you have personal action to that you can take, you go ahead to take the personal action.
Very well.
And we should
Honorable Obiamwa is making, his comment, but trying to situate it within the bigger context, and also talking about double standards, if you like. Some happen, we don't talk about, others happen, that kind of thing. Your take on this issue?
Well, I think it's legitimate for him to situate it in a bigger context.
A bigger context, yes.
I totally agree with you. But before then, I think on the Supreme Court issue, I made a statement that we have had parties win elections with quote and unquote uncredible registers. I do not in any way intend to say, because I'm not making reference to just honorable statement. I mean, I've had a couple of communications. I'm not in any way saying that, look, we should have uncredible registers. What I'm saying is that within the context and within the circumstance in which we find ourselves, this issue needs to be resolved, and it needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. That was what I said. You see, the fact of the matter is that Madame Charlotte Osei is not an ordinary person. She's the chair of the Electoral Commission. In fact, the Electoral Commission is a very important institution when it comes to this country. So her conduct, what she does, and what the Electoral Commission does relative to our democracy is subject to criticism. And if she doesn't do well, every person has the right to criticize her. And I've had the opportunity of saying certain things about her relative to her conduct. After all, the success of this country regarding our democracy is hinged on what? The Electoral Commission. So if the Electoral Commission is not doing well, the Electoral Commission needs to be criticized. And if there's success, I think the success goes to her. So I don't have a problem with anybody who criticizes her based on her job, the job that she does. If Honorable Obiamwa thinks that, look, Madame Charlotte Osei is not doing the right thing, she's suspicious of her conduct, she's suspicious of whatever they do, and he criticizes her relative to her job, I don't have a problem with that. But I don't think it would be fair if she is criticized as a person, especially, her womanhood. Her womanhood, I don't think it's appropriate. And I think Mr. Japon's statements have received a lot of condemnation, and legitimately so, because, think about it. The woman is above 18 years. She's a lawyer. Whatever she does with her body, do I care? I don't. In fact, I have 4 daughters, 4 girls. If for some reason they grew up and they are married and they misbehave, I can only advise them. But
so, Abu,
yes,
the point is that
yes.
in this contest,
yes,
he wanted to say that she secured her position through.
With sexual favors.
But you said you didn't. But you said you didn't hear him.
Honorable, even that,
You said you didn't hear him.
even that, honorable, even if she secured her position through that, what you should be looking at is the corrupt
Delivery
aspect of it.
of
The
the-
corrupt
That's
aspect-
why I wanted
the corrupt,
you to situate
the
it
corrupt
in that
aspect of it,
angle.
and that you need to prove it and you need to take it to court. But with regards to her womanhood and stuff, and you see, it's not only her. We've had some prominent people in this country, from both sides of the political aisle, who have been, bad things have been said about them, and I think it's unfortunate because you see, the problem is this: when a woman gets a position of that stature, people think that she used her sex to get it.
And
But
she's
when
under scrutiny from day
when
one.
somebody like Obiamwa is electoral commission, nobody will say he went around fucking women to get it.
Are you
Mind
using
your
this word?
language. Mind your language.
No, excuse
Using
me.
this word
I'm,
or this
I'm
said?
sorry about it. I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry. But that is the point. So I think it's unfortunate. But you see, I think that's where I get to Honorable's point about looking at it from the bigger picture. You know that in this country, even though any Tom, Dick, and Harry like me is called honorable, as a matter of fact, the only group of people in this country who are supposed to be called honorable are members of parliament. Even ministers of state are not supposed to be called honorable. If I'm lying, tell me.
That's true.
But you need committee members.
No, that's what I'm saying. No,
They are usurping that power.
That's why I said anybody, even like me, is referred to as honorable. The only person or the only group of people who are called honorable are members of parliament. And I make reference to this
The
because
speaker is called right honorable.
yeah, but he's a member of parliament.
He's not a member of.
No, I mean he's in that chamber. You understand what I'm saying? And he's not even called honorable. He's called right honorable. And I think the term honorable needs to be understood. When you say you are honored, it means that you are honored. You are honored to be in that position. So in my constituency, we say that, look, among all of us, the person who should represent us is Honorable Obiamwa. You understand what I'm saying? When you take, recently we are talking about honorary degree, PhD, you are honored. So that position is very, 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 very important. And that is where I think that if you are an honorable member, whatever you say, how you say it, you need to be very careful. You see, when we come and sit on this platform, Honorable Obiamwa, if you ask him about certain things and he wants to speak on that issue off camera, maybe what he will say will be different from what he says
Obviously,
on
absolutely,
camera.
yes.
So why does he do that? Because there are so many people who are what? Who are emulating him. There are so many people who take wisdom out of what he says. So it's important for members of parliament, and I mean politicians in general, to see themselves as role models. You understand what I'm saying? So if you are positioning yourself as a role model, whatever you say, you need to be extremely careful. That said, there have been calls, and I'll make reference to Honorable Alito Jacobs. And not just him. I mean, there have been a number of NDC people who have said that Nanado should speak to this issue. He should distance himself. I disagree. I disagree because if Nanado held that view, I mean, he's had the opportunity to speak on so many different. He would have called Madam Charlotte to say those words before Honorable Kennedy Japan would have said that. In fact, the MPP, I'm tempted to believe that you guys have about 120 MPs in Parliament. So 122. 122. So if anything that an MP says, Nanado should come and say, I agree or disagree. You understand what I'm saying? I don't believe in that. This is a statement made by an individual member of Parliament. He has responsibility for it and should be made accountable for it. It's as simple as that. The flag bearer, let me land, for the flag bearer to speak to it, I don't think he's obliged or it's necessary. I don't think so. I've heard the president speak to it. Yes, the president, I mean, it's a political season. You can make some political capital out of it.
In any case, he appointed her, so definitely.
Who appointed her?
I mean,
that doesn't give you.
No, what I'm saying is, it's putting credibility issues to her competence,
not necessarily,
and it would definitely come up as the appointing authority.
Not necessarily. That's why I said that. Look, it's a political season. The president can make some political capital out of it, and he's spoken to it. And if I was him, I would have spoken to that issue. There's no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that necessarily Nanado should speak to it. Look, I think as a people, moving forward, as Honorable Obiamwa said, we must take a stand. These things must stop. It must stop. I mean, whether it's about women, whether it's about judges, whether it's about even you. The text messages people send and stuff like it must stop. We need to be civil. And there's been this call that there's a high level of moral decadence in this country. I mean, I think part of it, I think our leaders also have themselves to be blamed.
Very, well, yeah, and then perhaps a culture of intolerance that is
Yeah,
growing gradually. Now, Mr. Maliba, yes, your take. Please, Mr. Maliba,
that's why I said you people have a part.
Mr. Maliba
I'm not saying-
is on
I'm
the
not
floor,
putting
please.
everything-
But she's in the media, so
Mr.
you
Maliba.
also take part.
Oh, yes, we take responsibility for everything.
Abna.
Yes, Mr. Maliba.
I am not going to mince words. I'm not going
I don't think anybody has
I'm
minced words so
not
far.
going to massage anything.
You are very right.
I want to say that
You're very right to go
the
naked.
unprovoked outburst, my emphasis is unprovoked outburst on Charlotte Osel can be described as irresponsible, can be described as despicable and infantile. Unprovoked because, ask the question, what did Charlotte Osel do to Kennedy Japan? What did she do to you? What did she do to you? It could have been justifiable a little. Maybe somebody will say, well, the woman also said this and that's how you came to say this. But this woman did not attack you in any way. And you came out in that forceful manner. You said that everybody has condemned it. Maybe I have to correct you. The MPP as a party.
I didn't say everybody has condemned it, Mr. Maliba.
Okay, majority. Well, in that league of majority does not include the MPP that actually okayed the statement and said that they didn't see anything wrong.
Was he delivering a message on behalf of the party
Who?
when he, Honorable Kennedy Japan?
He's a member of the party?
You said
And it was a party
the
function?
party okayed
It
the
was
statement.
Yeah, the party.
Which statement?
I mean the statement made.
Which party? Which party?
The MPP. Which party am I talking about?
MPP went for a meeting and
Yes,
you
the MPP
It's not true.
statement from Kabu
And Kabu is MPP.
indicated that they were not going to condemn him
Who?
and they stand by
It's
what
not
he
true,
said.
It's not true.
But the deputy
The
general
MPP
secretary has distanced
true.
himself.
There's been
What's
a
the
number
name?
of condemnations
Obi-
coming from
Obi Wine,
within.
Obi
Yes.
Wine
What
has-
you already say about Kabu is not true.
No.
Please, yes, you carry on.
not
So the
allowed.
MPP,
No, but
the
you will come
MPP
into
has not seen
rebut it,
anything
please.
wrong with that. Next point for me is that if we are condemning statements that are provocative and volatile, we should include statements in which the Supreme Court judges were attacked after the 5-4 victory at the Supreme Court, where Justice Atuguba was insulted in his face. We should include those statements. Let's again use his word, pick and choose which one. The statements to the effect that the Santihini bribed them, the statement which insulted the Chief Justice Atuguba.
Yes.
Those who were
So
silent.
that's why we
those
said
ones should be condemned.
exactly. So the
All
bigger
those ones should be
picture.
condemned.
Yes.
But is it not curious that he did not hear the Kennedy Japan one, but heard the judges one? Is it not curious?
Why should you be curious? Are you the one?
So, Mr. Mariba,
I think
You're
that
being mischievous
it
with
is-
this one.
It is selective in the way he looks at those comments. But those comments should be condemned in totality. Kennedy Japan is notorious for these comments. He's notorious for those comments. Is there nobody in this country who can pull the brakes on him? Is there nobody in this country? Is he the Rambo man of this country? Kennedy Japan made inflammatory statements, comments, to the effect that we should allow Ashantis hit guns and Evers.
You didn't say that.
This one,
I know, but you're here, so
Well,
you be.
this-
I will leave that
this
to you to
one-
rebut.
when the executive put him before court and he was discharged, the MPP carried him up, hailed him, poured powder on him. You think such a man will not have the effrontery?
You said that executive put him before court and he was discharged.
Yes, and I'm saying that.
And you don't understand it.
Oh, have I said I don't understand it?
Yes.
Is
No,
that
but
where
if-
my comments are?
if-
The way you are talking
Is that
as
where
if-
my comments
as if
are?
the
Did I say
court-
that the
the
judges
court should
erred?
free
Did I say
and
the judges
accused.
erred? Did I say the judges erred?
If a court should free and
But he was
accused-
discharged based on
Yes, and I'm
evidence led.
saying that we all know that those comments were inflammatory. But there's no evidence to pin him down, so he was discharged.
Well, this-
Now the MPP hailed him. And I'm saying that from the powder pouring, you think this man will not escalate to do what he's doing? If I were him, in fact, I would have done more. Because everybody protects me, nobody cares. That person, people like him, must be caged. I've told you that if we want peace in this country, Kenya Japan must be caged. In the last election,
as should all those who have made similar comments, right?
Including
those who said on
the Kumasi chairman of the MPP. Including anybody, yes, the Ashanti chairman, including anybody in NDC
who said similar things,
those comments.
Make statements.
I don't want to be carrying my mat across Togo body. I don't want to carry my mat.
Honorable, please.
I don't want to carry my mat across. Paga is closer. No, I'm in Accra here. I don't want to be carrying my mat across Togo body.
You don't have a mat.
No matter the challenges, I want to stay in Ghana and build Ghana. The lunatic fringe, who are few, but who want to supersede all of us, we as the good people of this country should come as one and fight them, whether in NDC or in MPP. I think that such comments coming from some of our politicians must not be allowed to fester any longer. 5 months to elections is so close. Parliament, he's a member of Parliament, must deal with him. His constituents must deal with him. There are women in that constituency who feel peeved, must deal with him. The MPP must deal with him.
Should Madam Salos said perhaps take this up legally, because we are operating within a rule of law.
I was about to check the law before coming here. I want to see the duration, the period, there's a limitation. If the limitation allows her to deliver the elections and go to court, she should do that. But I don't want her to be distracted. She should focus on the elections, deliver it. But if after the election, November, there's still more time, she should sue her. But for now, don't sue her because your attention, sue him. The attention will be divided. Charlotte, your focus is to deliver the election. So deliver it first. I'll check the laws. I'll talk to you later on. I'll advise you. If after the election,
right?
yes, I'll advise her. If a lawyer is peeved, you take another lawyer. So if there's time, she should sue her. But for now, But for now, he shouldn't go there. He should wait for the elections to be over. But I think that condemnation must come from all sides. If there's need to punish him, I'm hearing Parliament is joined to see whether they can call him before the Privileges Committee. I'm saying this because he's notorious for those comments. And I was of the view that we need to put in place a hate speech law, which would criminalize such statements. For now, it's difficult to, because there's no law that deals with hate speech. And so there must be a law that deals with hate speech.
The criminal libel.
And I think that hate speech is one such law that will be able to deal with matters such as this. I don't think that we should allow this to happen.
Very well. Mr. Malibert is talking about hate speech, but he also mentioned the possibility of Honorable Ejapon being held to the Privileges Committee. Honorable, what could be the gravest sanctions meted out to for such comments?
With all due respect, I don't want us to single out Japan.
No. I'm just saying, perhaps let's even work with the hypothetical situation.
Yes. In this country.
But what is the gravest sanction?
He's sitting there. His favorite radio station, Munti FM.
We'll go there. But I'm just
every
asking,
afternoon.
Perhaps for purposes of educating
media commission,
listeners and viewers.
And this, the statement I'm talking about, judges, was made on Munti FM.
Honorable, I get that, but I'm asking.
Afternoon radio.
Honorable,
the statement that
Mr.
Justice Atoba was done at Oman FM.
But please wait. Listen.
But they were dragged to court.
We need to.
John was dragged to court.
Honorable,
and convicted.
That statement was made.
Or maybe Mr. Malibert, you can help me. What is the gravest sanctions the Privileges Committee could met out to?
Well,
honorable members who make.
You were asking me.
Exactly, but you were not.
So I decided about to
very
go
well.
The foundation.
Yes.
Because the way you ask is as if.
Not just honorable.
How do we cut his head off?
No.
We cut more heads than only his head.
I'm trying to see whether or not we have a deterrent system enough.
After all, Black Rasta, when he started on radio and said.
But that was to an outsider, not a member.
When he said, I'm coming to that. When he said majority of MPs smoke weed. He was dragged to the Privileges Committee. Somebody has to make the complaint. So any person aggrieved in Parliament, if he thinks there's a basis to make the complaint, he file it to the Privileges Committee. The committee will sit on it.
So who's to bail the cat situation now?
So that is what it is. It's not that any statement somebody makes, oh, Privileges Committee. You should establish the ground.
Very well, yes. But assuming somebody did that and the matter is heard, what would be the ultimate sanction for such?
The matter is heard. You have already concluded that the person will be guilty.
No, no.
Yes,
I'm saying, no, but
this
is for purpose of educating myself, listeners, and viewers as well. What is,
the person will also bring his defense and to show whether he has basis for saying that, or to show remorse enough and apologize, and then the Parliament will decide. Okay,
so ultimately, an apology. But is that a deterrent enough for me? I mean, because we're looking at a system where he can be suspended
for a number of sittings too. He can be suspended for a number of sittings. I know
like
some
there's
MPs
a conflict of interest situation here.
There's none.
I'm sure.
There's none. I'm just
some
looking for a bigger, yes.
Some have suffered some suspensions, sitting suspensions. They can ask him to leave the house for a period of time. And I know
it's
some. But is it not ironic that the person whose program Kennedy was on, and who suffered from a similar comment from Kofi Juma, that is Madam Patricia J, did not comment on this matter, and to criticize that comment.
Has not commented or did not comment.
Has not criticized the matter. Because I think that Patricia J herself was a victim of a similar comment from Kofi Juma. And I thought that she should have been at least the first person to condemn such statement. I think it's not good for womanhood.
Very well. I think the point is well made. I mean, such statements should be condemned from all sides. No double standards here. Moving forward.
Unfortunately, I want to bring in the role of the media.
We will do that, but let me bring in the listeners and viewers before we do that as well. This is coming from Kwekun Lapas. He says, Abna, it is interesting that none of the NPP activists has listened or seen the tapes of Kennedy Japan. This is not the first time this man has done this. Hypocrisy will make NPP remain in opposition till thy kingdom come.
Opposition is death. We were in opposition for 30 years. We didn't die.
Hello, Abna. Dr. Jinapo is always right and has been objective in all his analysis. Leave out the politicians. Hope to hear more from Doc. This is Samson in Winnipeg. What Honorable Kennedy Japan said, whether would prove or not, wasn't fair to the EC boss's personality, and hope he guards what he says. Any other attack on anyone should be condemned because we need our country in peace. The Aram in Adenta. This is Anthony. I want to ask that the national, this is about when the national identification card is coming out. I have no idea. Abna, I'm worried about NPP comments. No. Comments are dubious figures, if indeed. No, I can't make head or tail out of this. Sorry. Abdullah from Kumasi, please resend your text and then I can read it out. Abna, the Electoral Commission should have prevented this NHIS brouhaha over deletion of NHIS registrant on the Electoral Register after 2014 Supreme Court ruling on the matter, if it had not allowed itself to kowtow to the dictates of the NDC. This is set in Hohoi. Good morning, Abna. This is exactly what the NDC wants. Since when are they asking the EC to clean the register? And today, Mr. Maliba is saying there's no time. They must clean this register even if it means we need to postpone the elections. Abna, good morning. What makes Kennedy say what he said? Because EC is not doing her job well, and also NDC Deputy Secretary insults one of the Supreme Court judges who condemns him. Well, we've said here that Madame Charlotte says, I mean, if you're talking about her, it has to be within the framework of her or she performing her role as EC, and you're talking about or criticizing her delivery in terms of her position as EC commissioner. You don't go down into her person and reduce the conversations into personality attacks and all. That isn't what we're looking for in the discourse as we move forward with our body politics. Initially, I said we'll tie this into the pelting of stones on the President's convoy, so we can do that as we move on. Honorable, you want to start again, or I give it to Mr. Malema? Honorable, okay, please carry on.
Well, I was just reading this. It says the Ghana Bar Association is calling on the IGP to, as a matter of urgency, arrest some 2 radio panelists who threaten the lives of judges in the country. I hope the IGP and the police will take this matter very seriously. Because, yes, no matter where it's coming from.
Exactly.
Now, this story about the president being stoned, I followed the story, and it appears to be a story which should have been verified very well before it came out. Because such stories create a lot of confusion. We are in a political season. The president goes to Ashanti region, which is a stronghold of the MPP, no doubt. Every elections, that is where the MPP gets its highest votes. It goes to the Otumfo, it goes to another thing happens. Then we hear along the line that his convoy had been stoned. Obviously, it creates a lot of apprehension, in the sense that, is that the trend? If a whole sitting president can be stoned, then does it mean that other flag bearers cannot go to places deemed to be strongholds of other parties? So it was very worrying. The only thing I said was that the police should do everything they can to arrest such persons and let the whole world know that in politics you can't have this kind of way and be left to go scot-free. Everybody who heard it was worried. But thankfully, that very day, some stations were saying that they doubt the story. Doubt the story in the sense that if they say the police has arrested those people, who are they? What action is the police taking? How far have they gone with it? They kept asking questions until I saw another news item quoting the regional minister of Ashanti region that nothing of that sort happened. I said, then who put out this story? And what was the motive for putting out this story? And then why does the one person want to create this kind of panic and apprehension in the system? The person who put out the story should be bold enough to come out and say that this is what I saw, this is what happened, these are the people, the police have gone ahead to arrest them, but they are shielding people or they are covering up. Other than that, if we really identify the person who put out the story, you should apologize to the whole world. Especially when the regional minister has come out to say that nothing of that sort happened. It's his word against whoever brought out that story. If that person thinks that indeed it happened, he should come and challenge the regional minister for us to move on. We should not create this situation where right from the beginning say violence has started again and people are attacking their opponents or people are making efforts to prevent others from even campaigning in certain areas. It will send a very wrong signal. And we've gone through this before. It's not that it hasn't happened before. Early 90s, we heard some of these stories. But for anybody to bring out a story that the whole president, with his security, with his convoy, everything, has been stoned, and even windscreens smashed, and then there's nothing to show for that statement. It's very wrong. That's why I'm coming back to the media.
Yes, we'll be touching on that, but I'll move on now. Honourable thanks for to Amaliba. Where is this coming from? And earlier on in our discussion of the EC Supreme Court matter, you made reference to the section 162 of the evidence decree. I mean, we could liken this to what's happening here, where the regional minister has come out to actually deny this, which is coming from governments, which is quite credible source of information. So clearly there's that contradiction. Why this confusion? Who would want to put out such
before then, let me also
misleading information, perhaps?
Before then, let me also put this on record. One of the gentlemen on Muti has also apologized to the judges. I wish to apologize unreservedly to the listening public, including those who called to caution and advise me. So he has apologized and has apologized to the management of Muntie FM for the unfortunate development. So I want to put that on record.
Okay.
And you think
that's Alistair. I don't know. He says regional minister. But I don't know whether that is the right description. If we were hearing from the same radio station, I heard the deputy regional minister. And he said, well,
the regional minister, what's his name? Because we have one Akon. Is he the one?
Yes, he is. Yes, I also heard the deputy regional minister, preferable on the City FM, indicate that they did not want to comment on it and that they want to focus on their tours and that they will leave that to the military, the security services. So there isn't any categorical statement that I have heard which says that that did not happen. But but from the reportage,
there is a report online portal.
From the reportage, what I heard was that they were hooting and throwing stones or pelting stones at the convoy of the president. It didn't hit the president. It was not the president, but the convoy of the president. And I said that if that is the case, this could be some few disgruntled people who have decided to take the laws into their own hands. What were they protesting? If you are protesting, you don't protest in that way. And so, if the MPP have distanced themselves from it, then...
sorry, Mr. Maliba, before you go on, I'm not looking at the party's issue. Honorable, please. This is something that happened. A fact. Did it happen or did it not? It's been reported. Now, the regional minister has come out to say that it didn't happen.
Then you say
shouldn't we be concerned about how this confusion is coming about?
My view. Just as he didn't hear Kenya Japon. I didn't also hear
this is evidence
or see this one.
So he's refusing to see this.
Somebody.
Okay, so you're coming from that angle. Very well.
The deputy regional minister says this, and you want me to make my submission in a certain way. I cannot afford.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
I'm not in that. You were not.
That's very true. Yes, we are all depending on the media reportage.
Exactly. So from the media reportage,
so there are two sources now. The regional minister, the deputy regional minister. Shouldn't that be an issue of concern?
There can be an issue of concern. The things that you see from your left, I see it from the left.
The fact is a fact. Very well, you carry on.
The boss has spoken.
My problem is that this is the stronghold of the MPP. Initially, we were hearing that the MPP were behind it. But if the MPP is distancing itself from it, I think that is good. So that we will take them as criminals, alleged criminals.
No, but if the MPP were a party, wouldn't it have taken them as criminals?
No, what I mean is that we can now look at it not from political lenses. That's what I mean. If MPP does something like they do their things at their party, it's criminal. But it is fused with politics. But fortunately for us here, the politics is out. Because if it were politics...
It leaves them standing alone now.
Now, the politics is out. If it were political and they were behind it, I would have said that. Then we should start stoning other parliamentary presidential candidates. And we see whose flesh will still remain in his body. But it cannot be so. It cannot be so because the MPP has distanced itself from it. So once the MPP has distanced itself from it, I congratulate them for it. But I'm saying that I'm told the security agencies have apprehended 2 people out of
which even makes the story more...
Because you've heard about that. 2 people have been apprehended.
Yes, we heard there were some arrests.
I think that investigations would be conducted and then the appropriate procedures will be used to deal with them. But
so you don't
because it's in a political season and it happened in the course of the president touring the Ashanti region, we need to ensure that political parties behave in a decorous manner so as not to allow some of these things happen. For me, both political parties and all political parties should give out people who break the laws. That, for me, is the way to go. Because you never know who next will be stoned.
Exactly.
I can be stoned. He can be stoned.
No,
let all political parties come together and give out people who they perceive are causing problems in this electioneering year. I think this is the way to go.
Very well, Rick. We're looking at the pelting of stones at the president's convoy. Well, yes, that's what it is, because now we have different reports coming in. Doc, your take on this, particularly, but I would want you to also look at the issue, how this ties in with journalistic standards, verification of facts before you put out such information and all.
Well, I think it's interesting and quite unfortunate. I say interesting because I'm kind of surprised that there's even a debate as to whether that happened. That is where I'm a little bit surprised, and legitimately so, because as Honorable Obiamwa made reference to the regional minister who indicated that nothing of that will happen. And I think any time that the president is in a region, mostly he sits in the same vehicle with the regional minister. but the regional minister more or less is the host. But when you go online and you just Google stoning of John Mahama, so many stories come up. In fact, recently, as of the day before yesterday, the Catholic Bishops' Conference
right.
Led by Reverend Bonsu, issued a statement condemning that act. We're talking the Catholic Bishops' Conference. I mean, an independent institution beyond all doubt. So if nothing of that sort happened, why are they condemning it? In fact,
that perhaps we should be slow to react. Is that
not
it?
necessarily slow. There's some iota of truth in it. There's some iota of truth.
Oh.
No, that's what I'm saying. I said there's some iota of truth. And beyond that, Honorable, the divisional commander for Ejusu, one Superintendent Larry, I've forgotten the last name, he granted an interview saying that 2 people have been arrested regarding that incident.
So where are they?
How can you arrest 2 people for doing nothing?
So then perhaps now
the police officer.
We need to be looking at exactly what's happening. Why would we have reports that the regional minister, for instance, is saying it didn't happen?
What I understand happened based on the stories and putting the knots together is that maybe some pelting of stones happened, but the president's convoy was not involved.
So then it's an inaccurate report then.
My understanding is that he said some students also were hooting at the president. And if they arrest them for hooting, it will be bad on the government.
This story is not about hooting. It's a pelting of stones.
Hooting,
and it even said, I'm coming, let me finish. It even gave the exact location. It said from Piasi to Ejusu. And you see, it's a very interesting thing. Let me tell you, the reality on the ground is that, Honorable, I mean, pelting of political leaders in the world is not something new. In fact, in England, they celebrate it, they use eggs.
Or tomatoes.
Or tomatoes. I mean, recently, the president for Czech Republic was pelted with eggs. We've had instances in Turkey. It's something that is...
Even here in Ghana, we've had it, with Kutwe Champon.
Okay, Kutwe Champon, who were in there. But you see but you see what is interesting is that immediately such things happened, then it tells you the mood of the people. You understand what I'm saying? It tells you the mood of what? The people. I listened to the regional chairman for NPP in Ashanti region, Wuntubi, speak on an FM station. I don't want to mention the FM. I listened to him. It's not like somebody told me. He said that, look, he doesn't know if it happened. But if it happened, he will not be surprised. And he thinks that this could have been as a result of NDC people themselves stoning the president because of economic hardships. No, I listened to him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he said, because of economic hardships.
That would be a bit overstretching it.
These are 2 things. There are 2 things that can be deduced from this. It means that, for some reason, some people are more or less validating such actions. And I think it is wrong. Because ever since we've had our 4th Republican dispensation, I stand to be corrected, I've never heard of a president who has ever been alleged to be, what did they call it, to have been pelted. Honorable.
No, true. The last time it happened was with Kutwe Champon.
I've never heard that.
Kutwe Champon, it wasn't constitutional.
Yes, it wasn't true.
That's what I'm saying. Since the 4th Republican dispensation, I've never heard of anything like that. But you see, we as a people should not just treat this issue surfacely. We should not. We should not just underestimate it, because if the president of the republic, of all the security apparatus that he has, I mean, I've seen the president move, and some people can even be that audacious to say they are going to hoot at him, then I, an ordinary person, on election day, I have to be very, very careful. I have to be very, very careful. Because if even students, to be that audacious and say, look, we are going to hoot at the president. I remember those times when we were kids, when you see President Rawlings' convoy as a student, that was in secondary school. I mean, you hide. We used to call them commandos. You understand what I'm saying? And today, students are that audacious to go and stand and say that they are hooting at the president. Then I think there's something more serious to it than it. What I'm trying to say is that, look, there's too much polarization in this country, and the temperature seems to be too high. the temperature seems to be too high this particular election season. I've heard some group of people called voter NDC or whatever, saying that they will also retaliate when Ronaldo comes to, what do they call it, voter register.
Why should he get to that?
You understand what I'm saying? It shouldn't get to that level.
Anybody who says that should be arrested.
Well, Honorable, let me land. And that is where I think that we, the leaders, have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. Most of these youth are taking cues from what we say. If the regional MPP chairman will say that, look, even if it happened, the president deserves it because of economic hardships, I think it's unpardonable. I think we can't accept that. What is wrong is wrong. If you disagree with somebody, you disagree with the president.
And that is if it did happen.
If it did happen, if you disagree with the president, you have the opportunity to vote him out. It's as simple as that.
Very well. Now,
Woon to me was already on record.
Are you done, Doc?
I haven't finished.
Please then carry on.
Yes, you have the opportunity to what? To vote him out. And I think, as a matter of fact, our leaders need to be very, very cautious and circumspect with their utterances. I hope it never happened. And I pray what the regional minister said is true. But moving forward, as we said, the media, I think the media, you guys also have an important role to play. You have an extremely important, it looks as if the media is so obsessed with sensations. It looks as if nothing bad happens, there's nothing to report about. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, did the media do their correct checks? Yes, it could be that the member of the parliamentary candidate for Ejuso, there's a lady, some madam, I've forgotten her name. If you look at the reportage, it looks as if her vehicle was hit. According to a story that she went to report to the police station that she had a stone hit her and stuff like that. But if it's a PC who has been attacked, it should be reported as what? A PC. The PC is not the president. You understand what I'm saying? The PC is not the president. But when you say the president's convoy has been attacked and it's on everywhere in the world, I mean, it's an indictment on us as a people.
Right.
You are not doing this country good. A president of the republic being stoned in an opposition stronghold, I mean, it raised security concerns. So I hope it's not the case. But I think moving forward, yes, the media has an important role to play. We, the good people of this country, needs to be extremely cautious in our actions and our utterances. I think the best way to deal with these issues is through the ballot. If you have a problem with Mr. Amaliba, you don't vote for him. If you have a problem with President Mahama, you don't vote for him. I mean, if you pelt him with stones and you end up not going to vote, it's useless. You understand? And that is where I will extremely caution this group in Volta that, look, this threat that has been released, they should forget it.
And clearly they're operating or they're making those statements based on the belief that it did happen.
Yeah,
and
it's
not justified either. It's not justified either, exactly.
I don't think
yes, but the uncertainty surrounding this is just too much.
That Woon to me was justified. Because Woon to me was reported to have even said before the visit that we picked reports that they were going to hoot at the president. Before even the president visited the place, I think that leadership in the various political parties must not allow their personal interest to override that of the national interest. I think, come to think of it, NDC has won 7.5 regions. Suppose we're also going to retaliate in our strongholds. Would that be fair? I think that, to me, for me, is also becoming notorious for violent acts in Kumasi. It is not proper that in a democratic dispensation, the way we should protest is to stone our president's convoy. That does not augur well for us. Some of the comments, and I don't want to repeat them here, but I'm forced to repeat them. Pepeni.
You don't have to.
Pepeni. Why? Is this country the preserve of a certain group of people to rule in this country?
such comments should definitely be condemned in no uncertain terms. Definitely. And like I said, it's not what...
treat them to.
Exactly.
Yes,
you see, we don't have to. So,
point is it with pain?
No. We get it. But let's not perpetuate it or propagate it even the more.
The country is not the preserve of one ethnic group.
Nobody is saying that. Now let's move. See, this issue presents a number of issues for us to look at, even as we go into the elections. You remember a couple of weeks ago, there was this thing about the IGP considering a shutdown on social media because social media is perhaps a culprit when it comes to these untruths in the media. Now we have a newspaper that actually reported this incident, which is mainstream media. So if you're talking about social media, cram down on social media, how are we going to deal with such untruths being peddled within the mainstream media, for instance? So we have an issue on our hands, really.
I think that statement made by the IGP, if I am right, has been withdrawn.
No, it was a proposal,
Yeah,
even at the time. It wasn't, yes,
but you see, even as a matter of fact, before this whole thing came into the print, I had read it on
the online portals.
On online portals, and the fact of the matter is, I think the police has a responsibility to ensure that the elections are conducted in a peaceful manner. But yes, the media also have a role to play. But I think that the most important players in ensuring that we have a peaceful, successful elections is we, the citizenry. And when I say the citizenry, I mean, yes, the people in authority, people like Obiamwa, people like Untumi, people like Asidin Ketia, people like Amaliba and Co. Because they are our leaders and they are the people that we look up to. In terms of defamatory statements, look, I can tell you, my sister, the things that we say in our own private corners, in our homes, if we want to bring everything onto the public platform, maybe this country will be deemed to be one that shouldn't even exist. But at the end of the day, that is where, when I was speaking to Kennedy Japan's comments, I said, look, if you are given a position of responsibility, you need to act responsibly. You may have certain beliefs. Look, I can tell you forever, Abna, I'm a Gonja. I'm proud to be a Gonja. And for us as Gonjas, we believe that every tribe in this country is below us. There's no tribe, there's nobody who believes that his tribe is what? A subordinate tribe to any other tribe.
Or inferior.
No, there's no tribe. So,
sentiments, yeah.
As for me, look, if you call me Pepe and Pepe, I don't have a problem about that. I don't. But when you treat me like that, because of this, that is where I have a problem. As for ethnicity and tribalism, like it or hate it, it is part and parcel of what? Our body politic. It's a fact. But how we deal with it, people vote for people because they belong to the same tribe. People vote for people because they belong to the same religion. And I've used this example in class. When I'm teaching myself, I tell them that, look, as a teacher, one of the most important things you need to understand is that you are going to be dealing with people from different backgrounds. How you are able to manage your biases, manage your prejudices, is what makes you a good teacher. So I do not want us to dwell into the issues of ethnicity and tribalism. Look, President Mahama is going to be voted for based on what he's been able to do for this country. I've said, and I repeat it, 2016, November 7th is going to be a referendum on the president. Not because he's a Gunja, not because he's a Northerner, not because he's a handsome guy. They are going to look at him based on his performance. And that should be the roadmap in terms of what? Electing or refusing him. It's as simple as that.
Very well. Well, let me take in some comments from viewers and listeners. Good morning to you, Abna, and your panelists. I think Mr. Maliba is very bold on the issue of Kennedy's, that's Honorable Kennedy Japan's despicable statement. Thumbs up to you, Maliba. Honorable Obiamwa is a very calm person I admire so much. So for him to be emotional on this EC matter is an indication of how Ghanaians are ready to resist any attempt by the NDC and the EC to manipulate the will of the people. We won't agree. This is Prosper in Ho. Somebody says, my greetings to Ahmed Janapo, my former teacher. That's Doc. Your former student. Your former student is greeting you. Abna, I'm watching live from Doma Hinkro. I think the comments made by Honorable Kennedy Japan isn't in the right path or the right direction. But I see no reason why Nanado should condemn it. I think Honorable Kennedy Japan is a grown man and must be made to provide the evidence he claims to have. If not, due punishment should be meted out to him. This is kudos to your panelists, especially Mr. Janapo from Bright Ifa. He says, hey Abna, good morning Abna. One thing the NPP and its surrogates don't know is that it's not possible to delete people who got their names onto the voters register in 2012 through the NHIS cards. In 2008, people used NHIS cards to get their names into the... In 2008, did we have the NHIS cards?
Well,
Was it-
we
used it.
the register?
Where we did, yeah.
The register. It's now
2000, it was
biometric.
used.
Exactly, it's not biometric, and for that matter, we'll need to go by the biometric verification and all. Now, this another one says, I am not an NPP advocate, but I certainly don't believe that only 56,000 people registered with the National Health Insurance Card, since it is the easiest form of identification for most ordinary Ghanaians. This is Ahmed from Michelle Camp. Mr. Maliba, I don't agree with your suggestion that the foreigners on the EC list are not more than Ghanaians, because the number of Ghanaian NDC voters plus your foreigners can make a difference in this election. I think that was, yes, Dr. Jinapo. Maybe he was listening to you so much that he couldn't actually hear when Doc was speaking.
Like me. He doesn't like
That's
me.
your interpretation.
Too much.
I'm yet, so this is from Suglo Ibrahim of Wa East. I'm yet to listen to the Kennedy Japan audio on the EC boss, Madame Charlotte say, but if what I'm hearing is true, then I think Honorable Japan's comments were unfortunate. This and says, but I find it problematic when our friends from the NDC are the ones leading the campaign for the NPP and its flag bearer to sanction Honorable Japan, because not too long ago, a presidential staffer and member of the NDC communication team, Alaji Halidu Haruna, referred to all women. Well, that whole incident.
The difference is that.
Please let me finish this.
Yeah.
Let me finish reading this.
No,
Did President John Dramani Mahama condemn Halidu Haruna?
Yes.
He's asking these questions. Abna, kindly ask lawyer Amaliba to lead the campaign to cage Honorable Kennedy Japan, since he's a lawyer.
Yes.
I think you're going to do so through the
Yes.
legal processes.
Process.
I hope
Legal
nothing
He's applied
illegal.
to be the lawyer for China.
I have listened to
air.
Mr. Maliba on many platforms, but I can't read that. Unfortunately, it's. I suggest.
Today there is too much propaganda.
I
I've read it for you.
Anyways, yes. On Mr. Maliba, you want to say
Drawing
something?
examples or correlation with Halidu's comment. When Halidu makes those comments against the actresses,
Which comment?
when she insulted the actresses,
That.
Maybe he doesn't want to repeat it, which
When she
I
insulted
agree.
the
You don't have to
actresses,
repeat, but we know. Yes.
immediately the presidency called him to order. We all remember, and
I
asked
don't
him
remember.
to apologize. And he
You
did
didn't know.
apologize. That's the difference. Even in that case, there was some provocation because they referred to the president as what? A primary school child who fails his exam.
Oh, you
That
don't say
one, there was provocation.
This man.
There was provocation at least. But yet the president had a big heart, called Alidu to order and asked Alidu to apologize. We all knew this.
As,
Honorable.
So that's the
as
difference.
presidential staffer.
That's the difference.
As presidential staffer, employee of the president. So that's the difference.
Oh.
Why
Very
do you want Danado to come in?
Me, Nanado shouldn't apologize. After all, he quoted Nanado.
Oh.
All die be die. He quoted him. So they are best of the same feather. Why should they? Why
Very well. Let's carry on with some messages, some more
should they
messages.
apologize?
Please
I'm
let's not
accepting
cloud
it.
our thinking with
quoted him now
feminism.
before.
I'm not in any way going to defend the said MP, but I think how one gets to become the chairperson of the EC should be of great concern to all. For me, what we should be seeking to do is impress on the MP to show us proof of what he is claiming, so that if he is not able to do it, the lady and her lawyers take him on. People should be allowed to express themselves and held accountable for their actions and inactions. Are we suggesting that even if I have a problem with how a woman gets a position, whether fair or foul, I shouldn't complain? And I never heard anyone say, I can't read that. But essentially what this woman is saying is that how people
a
are
woman.
positioned, I don't want to, I can't even say, no. I'm not sure. There's no
Name.
identification as to whether sex, woman or not, yes. But the thing is, how people are appointed into positions should be an issue of concern, which is
Well,
what
this
essentially this
particular-
text message is about.
This particular position, I think the matter is even still in court as to how she didn't resign from NCC and became boss of EC. So we should leave the court
To
handle
deal with
the
that,
matter.
yes.
But the issue that you brought in, which I think we can still deal with, is the media. Sensationalism. Somebody will be reading the news, and the news is more of commentary than even the news, which is very strange if you listen to news elsewhere. Typical BBC, VOA, Deutsche Welle. If it's news, it's news. So that you hear somebody saying, oh, Omu Chrono, he was hooted at, they didn't cry pineapple, which
You have to explain what that means.
Ochrono, they hooted at him.
Okay.
Or pineapple means that he was stoned,
Okay.
pelted with stones. And that may be just the person reading the news when it's not even part of the news. maybe the word the person, the producer or the speechwriter uses, heckled. And then they turn the heckle to mean even hooting and stoning. So the media has a huge responsibility. Unfortunately, the Media Commission brought out an ally, and the same media group think that it's too strong. The matter has been sent to court. But even before the court handles this thing, there should be some self-regulation. Because you can't live in a world where there are no rules and regulations. Anybody can sit on air and say anything. And then when he's asked to justify what he said, he said, then I'm sorry. It's not enough. In this country, we have criminal libel. We all thought that it would not be fair to prosecute people for saying things against certain public officers. So if the individual feels aggrieved, you should rather go to Media Commission or go to court. But it doesn't give us a license to just attack persons just because we don't agree with them or their political opponents. And most of the time, the conduit is the media. People phone in and say anything they want, and they allow them to say it. There's no even delay.
Perhaps that technology
yes.
is also necessary,
yes.
given.
And people think that when people come and scream on their programs or come and insult and attack people, it makes their programs more popular. So people they invite even for such programs. They know
well, I don't mean to move away from the substance of the thing, but I think there's some truth to that, which yes. is perhaps people, the media feeds the people with what they want. Yeah. So perhaps we need to interrogate. No, because if you are saying there are certain programs, have we monitored to see how such programs are gaining weight on the airways, for instance, popularity?
Let me tell you my personal experience. I meet people, they say, oh, we like the way you conduct yourself. Even party people. Maybe they thought I could be just hitting, but I also have a reputation to that. Mm-hmm. You meet pastors, chiefs, elderly persons, and they think that's the way to go. I have 3 children. The first 2 are in the university. Do you think I'll come and sit here and talk anyhow, and then they'll be watching me? What example would I be giving? And then their colleagues will also be watching and say, is that how your father wants to behave in public? But what I'm saying is that the media has a role to play in calming tempers and bringing some of these things down. I went for a TESCO inauguration. I said my bit about why I think that NDC should go. I said it, never insulted anybody. But go and look at Ghana.
Let's wrap up on this so we move on
to the next
topic.
They deviated and then held personal insults just because Obiama said that it's time for change. But is it not my right to say that it's time for change without insulting anybody? But if the reaction is just to insult Obiama, another person also replies. And the whole argument is lost.
But this is no longer the media. You're talking about people reacting to the Ghana web story, isn't it?
No, but Ghana web, are they not part of the media?
No, you said
the comments coming.
The comments. You're talking about the comments.
On the reportage.
Yeah, but not the Ghana, not the reportage headline of Ghana.
It's not part of it.
No, it's not part of it. What we say here, when it's on the portals,
yes,
comments come and they insult us.
And you think they don't have any control over the comments?
They insult us.
They don't have control over the comments.
I don't even read them. I don't read them.
Yes, but I'm saying that I'm just giving
an example. If you believe in what you are saying, you don't need to
Stick
be
to
varicating.
No, but I've brought in the whole media thing because
So then
what is really the problem? Look,
what Honorable is saying is also touching on the issue of intolerance of people's views. That's it. That's the other side. Not exactly.
There was a committee as to how to deal with the media and even the aftermath of the petition. This involved Media Commission, the police, other civil society organizations. And the main issue was about afternoon radio. Some of the evening programs, but mainly about afternoon radio. The competition now, and then who can create a space for people to come and insult others and do. If you encourage this, then politics will just become a useless venture.
Very well, yes. We need to wrap up on that briefly, Doc, and then we carry on.
Yes, I agree with Honorable that the media has
a role to play.
And albeit an important role. But I also think that politicians or leaders have the most important role to play in all these things. I'll give you a typical example. In Kumasi, why is it the case that it is only in Kumasi that there's quote and unquote allegation of the president either being hooted at or being pelted? Bantama Henne's funeral. You remember? When Bantama Henne, they were having a funeral. There was also this reportage that the president was hooted at.
But who reports it? Is it
It
on
still
the
goes
media?
to the media.
Okay. So let me land. There was also this allegation. That's why I use the word allegation. Mr. Amaliba was making reference to the fact that even prior to the president's visit to Kumasi, there was this rumor that some people were being organized to hoot at the president. And coincidentally, the president either is being hooted at or is being stoned.
That was a rumor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fact of the matter is that my point is this. You see, in elections, Honorable, people who are MPP will always vote for MPP. People who are NDC will always vote for what? NDC. The people who make the difference are what? The few. There's no way you vote for John Mahama. There's no way Honorable Mr. Amaliba will vote for what? Nanado. Me, I can vote for any of them. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So when these things happen, whether true or untrue, then it gives people cause for concern, especially the independent-minded people, the floating voters. I do not think, and I even believe that if these things, there are independent people who, by virtue of exuberance, want to do this and stuff like that, the leadership has a responsibility to manage them. It's
very well. I think we can draw this to a conclusion now and move on.
But
it's a shared responsibility.
No, I understand. But
it's a shared responsibility. Let's agree.
They are party people. What I'm saying is that let's say they are even ordinary people, nobody. But the party.
But we've condemned it.
I think really we are speaking the same language here. It's a shared responsibility. Politicians, media, everyone, the citizenry themselves. I mean ourselves. We are to play a role in ensuring that there's decency in our body politics. We move on now.
For him to know that I will not vote for Nana Akufo-Addo, he's a prophet.
Pardon, what did you say?
Oh, but
I didn't hear you, but anyways, we need...
If that's prophecy,
we'll be taking a break. We'll be taking a break. We'll come back to begin the conversation on the ECG mass disconnection exercise and how it ties into the imminent private sector participation in the ECG operations. I'll take some messages. This is saying that personally, I don't think Honorable Kennedy Japan, the hypocrisy of the NDC and selective media reportage is becoming unbecoming. It's always painful to be told the truth. Are we aware that constitutionally, Madam Charlotte Osei is not even supposed to be taken out from her original position as NCC boss because that was equated to an appeals court judge, and before being taken out, proper constitutional process must be followed. As has already been said, this matter is in court, and so we'll wait to see the outcome of that. Good morning, my sister. Let our leaders know that we can only appreciate peace when we face war. So our leaders should behave well. This NDC and NPP matters are too much for Ghanaians. This is from Eat Well. We don't respect our presidents in this country. Very bad. Let's learn to respect our presidents. God can cause precedent to come from anybody's family, so people should respect their presidents. Also, people we thought are honorable men are rather horrible and disrespecting men. But I want Nana, says Canadian Rollins, to come and condemn this attack on the EC because similar case happened to her and she came and condemned it on the air with other women. This is very bad, and this is in respect of the comments against Madam Charlotte Osei. When Mr. Kennedy Japan described all members of NPP without exception on Adom TV as, says, fools, no disciplinary action was taken against him. And Mr. Amaliba is expecting them to chastise him for insulting Madam Charlotte Osei. Kennedy's NPP and NPP's Kennedy. He should keep on campaigning for NDC. Dr. Jinapo, I like your submissions. It's good to speak the truth. God bless you. So it's lovely morning from here up now to you and your panelists. You're doing a great job, I must say. Tell the lawyer to stop taking issues personal. We should speak. Okay, let's see, we go on. If care isn't taken, we will one day be led by monkeys for the simple reason that monkeys in a way look similar to Homo sapiens. Kennedy should know this. I honestly, I can't make head or tail of this message. Sorry about that. Only a humiliated man insults a woman. If the leadership of the NPP fears scolding Kennedy Japan, the leadership of Parliament must sanction him. Politicians are supposed to be role models to the society. Our fathers come on social media and make us feel ashamed to call them parents because of their unsavory statements. This is Brides from Ayildu. Well, I'll put a hold on to the messages now, and then we go on to the next topic, which is mass disconnection exercise undertaken by the Electricity Company of Ghana, ostensibly to recover debts owed it by customers. Now, the catch here is that as they carried on the exercise, a statement was issued by the Deputy Minister of Power, Mr. John Jinapo, asking the ECG to consider exempting some health, educational, and security installations from the disconnection exercise. Now, the question is, what do we make of this development? ECG is in a bid to recover its debts because for the longest time, the ECG has been accused of being inefficient in terms of service delivery, inefficient in terms of revenue generation or revenue collection. So if now they've actually started trying to chase their debtors, as it were, where's this directive coming in? How does it fit into the scheme of things? Does this confirm that perhaps what the ECG has been saying all this while, that there's been some government interference, and government here not referring to the incumbent NDC government, but governments of previous periods as well, interfering with their operations such that they are not able to go after their debtors. And their debtors, we are told that government, for instance, owes currently to date about 950 million Ghana cedis, and that's quite a huge sum of money owing to the ECG. In terms of ministries, departments, and agencies, how do we get out of this situation? Are we in a paradox situation? What do we do? A catch-21 situation, for instance? I would want us to situate this within the context of the imminent private sector participation in the ECG's operations, because that is one of the reasons, or perhaps the paramount reason, why we're talking about this privatization, or if you like, private sector participation, that the ECG is inefficient when it comes to the service delivery and revenue collection. So, how do we move forward within this context? Mr. Maleba.
I don't think that disconnection is a new exercise for us to want to be talking about it. Disconnection has been happening since childhood. I have seen people come to my father's house to disconnect. So disconnection is not...
No, but what makes it newsy, if you like, is the directive coming from the Ministry of Power.
This issue of disconnection and linking it to... They are doing their work. The fact that there is an eminent concession of management of the ECG doesn't mean that from now till it happens, they shouldn't do their work. They are doing their work. And so, yes, let's credit them for what they are doing. Whether what they are doing means that they are now becoming efficient or not, for me, it's neither here nor there, because if it were only about disconnection, which will feed into whether they are managing well or not, I'm saying that that has been an age-old situation that they have been doing. They have been doing this for over the years. The management concession is supposed to ensure that we bring greater efficiency into the ECG. And so I think that if today we have management issues of ECG, the concession will come to resolve those issues.
But efficiency in terms of what?
In terms of making the institution more efficient. As we speak now, if you look at all the utility services, particularly the electricity sector, their bank accounts are nothing to write home about. They cannot even go for loans to be able to, run their operations.
And that's why they're chasing their debtors now.
So good. So if they have found that, that is one reason why they want to disconnect. But I'm saying that they have been disconnecting.
They've been disconnecting, but we're looking at this situation where a case has been made for the need to privatize or bring in private sector participation, largely based on the fact that the ECG is inefficient when it comes to service delivery and revenue collection.
See,
so now they are carrying on that mandate too.
What I don't
and
want
this this issue or directive comes in.
What I don't want us to believe is that it is because of the privatization, that's why they are disconnecting. I'm saying that disconnection has been a part. They even have a disconnection unit, I'm sure.
Totally. I don't see it as...
They do. Yeah, they have.
Yes.
So it's not new. But
At
the
all.
point is that there is going to be a monument concession. That is separate from what is happening. What is happening by disconnection is their usual routine work.
Mr. Maliba, there's no two ways about that.
So
what I'm trying to say is
now,
this, or what I'm saying is this. Let me land perhaps, and then we get the perspective. They are trying to chase their monies. Government owes them to the tune of about 950 million. And this is coming from the ministries, departments, and agencies, right? And now there's this directive that exempts certain institutions, security installations, educational installations, health installations. Yet they are consuming, they owe. So does this confirm the often referred assertion that indeed there's been some government interference to our ability to actually go for monies owed us, which is one of the reasons the ECG says it's not able to perform to the standards we expect it to perform?
Electricity is a social good. Now, government has to deal with the welfare needs of the people. When they embarked on the mass disconnection, government stepped in to deal with the social needs of the people, which is that exempt hospitals. And I'm sure nobody will sit here and say that that directive is not proper, because you don't expect that they will disconnect hospitals and people will lose their lives. I'm sure this table here, the narrative would have been different if that had happened. So government has a responsibility. Now, when I heard
but I'm just wondering whether or not such directives could be given to a private entity. I'm just asking these questions because
They should pay his bills.
You see,
That's your
would a private entity be subjected to such directives? For instance, that you don't go here, even though they owe you.
So government has intervened. And when I listened to the deputy minister yesterday, he pointed out that the Minister of Finance has put in place a mechanism to pay those institutions that have been asked to be exempted. So money is being made available for them to be paid so that they will not touch those institutions. It is crucial that those institutions continue to work, because again, if you go the full hog and they disconnect them, as we solve one problem, we are creating another problem. So there must be a balance. So money is being made available to settle those debts that would have incurred if those institutions were working without paying. So it is not, it's a balancing act that government is doing here, and not to say that we are intervening, and if it were a private sector, we are also putting in place money to pay the ECG so that they will not touch those institutions.
Very well. Honourable, Mr. Maliba is talking about a balancing act by government trying to ensure that the social goods are delivered to the people, but also ECGs,
get what they want.
all of that. What do you make of it?
If there's one sector where you can say that the government has shown to be very incompetent, it has created unnecessary crisis, is the energy sector. Now, if you listen to staff of ECG, they are saying that you say we are not doing well. Because of that, you want to bring in private persons. We don't know our fate when they come in. As far as we are concerned, you are not doing well because you are not playing your part well. You become responsible to the extent that what you're supposed to pay for ECG to do well, you are not paying. And if you are owing 150, and now you wait for the staff to go around disconnecting facilities before you say that, oh, we are planning to release 200. Then obviously you are not playing your part well. That is the message that they are sending. So if you come and say that, oh, some installations, in the first place, we're in this country when we were told that we're going to invest so much in prepaid meters. In the MDAs, if you fix prepaid meters, if you fix prepaid meter, I have prepaid meter. If I go and buy any credit, gets finished, that's the end of it.
To what extent has that directive been implemented?
They haven't. They haven't implemented it.
They have.
They haven't.
Some institutions have the prepaid.
And is it not ironic?
It is
ironic that you build a new stadium. You build a new stadium. The implication is that once you are building a new facility, if the government directive is that there should be prepaid meters, you go and fix one there. But how come within weeks they go to Cape Coast Stadium and say that they owe 87,000, so they've disconnected the stadium. And you tell me you've implemented a prepaid policy. The point is that if you say you are implementing prepaid policy and you are fixing meters for MDAs, new facilities that you are building for MDAs, those facilities will have prepaid meters. So how come they go around disconnecting new facilities? And then where are the prepaid meters? And I'm saying that if you run things this way, you are responsible and you are incompetent. And the workers are showing it in your face. You are now pleading with them that don't disconnect, we are making efforts to pay, plans are far advanced, plans are in the pipeline, the usual jargon. But you are saying that they are not doing well and you put them up for sale. And they are saying that you are not playing your part. Play your part and we
but perhaps the ECG is acting rather belatedly. I mean, like, they had the opportunity to go after.
They have defied management. On their own, they are saying that we are resolved that we will go around disconnecting, especially installations and institutions where government is supposed to pay us. For the whole world to know that we are not irresponsible, they are irresponsible. We are playing our part, they are not playing their part. And this is the evidence. Now you come and plead and beg that, oh, we beg you, don't do it. We are trying to release some money. So all along, what were you doing? Were you waiting for them to take on this course before you also play your part? And then how do you run a system this way? That is a major thing. You ask the right question. How far have they gone with this whole prepaid thing? Is it just lip service? There's been so much investment in the energy sector. Is that what we are seeing? If you should give money to anybody to carry out a certain service, and you see that what is coming out is not the kind of money you paid, obviously you complain. And for Ghanaians, we keep on complaining. If this what just 2 days ago, I heard the president saying that Doomsday is not yet over. Meanwhile, from yesterday, we were supposed to enjoy what? He said the high tariffs that we are paying come 1st July. We'll start.
Yesterday was a holiday.
Today is a holiday. But he knew 1st July was a holiday. He knew 1st July was a holiday.
Relax.
He knew 1st July was a holiday. So yesterday, today, tomorrow,
Monday will come. On Monday.
Monday will come.
And your prayer is that Monday comes, it doesn't happen.
My prayer. How can that be my prayer? When I'm paying so much, you think it's a prayer?
So much negativity.
Honorable, please land with your submission so I move to.
If the president tomorrow tells me that I shouldn't pay anything, you think I will not be happy? I will save money for my kids. So please, whether I like it here or not, we should look at what the government is doing and see whether they are just throwing gimmicks at us or indeed they are delivering what they are supposed to deliver. Because if it is the way they are going, touch wood, if they win again, it will be worse. What money have we put in the energy sector? Everyday stories. Now they are telling us, oh, we can't get gas, so we are praying for the rains to come, so that when the rains come, it will lessen our burden. Meanwhile, you are impoverishing us every day because of your mismanagement in the energy sector.
So is the president fault?
We are moving on.
It's not your turn.
Mr. Maliba, please.
You've had your turn.
It is the
are you done?
And the FPSO.
No, Mr. Maliba, I'll come to you, please.
We were in this country where you told us that the ship on the high sea
Honorable,
couldn't come because of
are you done with your submission? So I move to
No, I'm not done.
Please, so then let's wrap up and then yes.
They interjected.
Right.
What I'm saying is that we've had too many excuses, too many stories. And even for the tariffs, we brought in all these America Power, about 6 of them, negotiated with them to give them flexible tariffs. Still, we cannot solve our energy problem. The billions that we've borrowed to sink into this sector, is that what we are getting? Is that what we are getting? And you think the average person should not complain? Is that the legacy your mama wants to leave us? That is not fair. So please, we will come here. For how long have we been talking about this?
ECG.
Almost every time we come here, we talk about it. And then they even call in and say that is not what it is. That there was trouble here, trouble there, trouble. So when will the troubles be over?
Doc.
When the troubles are
Mr.
over.
Maliba, please.
No, let me tell you.
No, Doc is on the floor. I'll come back to you.
You will not be a politician.
Dr. Jinapo,
Anytime
you have the
troubles
floor,
are
please.
over, no politician.
Mr. Maliba, please. I'll come back to you. Let's have Mr. Dr. Jinapo
We are resolving them.
How do we? Yes.
You see, the point is this.
There was a directive. Let me lay the premise.
I'm just watching you.
I don't want to look
He's
into your
making
face.
faces at you. Okay, so see, this is the situation we have. Yes, Mr. Maliba talking about the social goods and everything. Yes, but then also ECG has to run, and it needs money to run.
That's where the balancing act comes in.
Yes, but to what degree, so that you don't have a situation where you're saying the ECG is not performing to a certain standard, and so let's bring in private sector participation to, as it were, correct the problems.
Well, first of all, let me acknowledge the fact that I have difficulty speaking to this issue because you all know I'm very biased when it comes to this issue. But at the end of the day, I'll try to
bias in what direction?
That's my personal. But I'll try to be objective and speak to this issue as I always do when it comes to issues of this nature. Number one, the topic under discussion is mass disconnection by Electricity Company of Ghana. And I listened to lawyer Amaliba, and he says, look, it's nothing new.
We're tied into that, the issue about the directive from the Power Ministry.
Yeah,
so it's not just the regular.
I'll talk about everything. You relax. She says that it's nothing new.
It's nothing.
And
when tenants in my father's house don't pay rent,
they come and I agree with him. I mean, we've had instances where, I mean, when I was renting some time back, my electricity was disconnected because I hadn't paid. Yeah. But today what we are saying is that we are talking about mass disconnection. When we say mass, it means the quantum is big. And it's important to note that this issue became an issue of discussion, not just by accident because the ECG was doing disconnection, but because the Deputy Minister for Power issued a statement commending the ECG for the work that they are doing, and also gave further directive that certain installations such as security, health and education should not be touched.
But
you understand? Plans are way ahead to deal with it. So it's not like people just took the story anywhere. It was because it is informed by the statement that was issued by the Power Minister. You understand what I'm saying? That said, when we say you are disconnected, what it means is that you have a certain accumulated bill. And usually the ECG has a threshold that if you pass that threshold, you are what? You need to be moved out. And I find the timing quite interesting. Interesting and a little bit worrying because if you remember, Honorable Obiamwa made reference to the fact that the President said by 1st of July, this whole irregularity regarding the billing will be addressed, and people who probably overpaid, they are going to be given some credit. So if today I owe because the bill has accumulated, and the bill being accumulated is as a result of what? An anomaly. And it's going to be rectified. Why do you have to disconnect me? Why don't you wait? Do you understand what I'm saying? If today I owe 1,000 Ghana, and the 1,000 Ghana that I owe, I've passed the threshold, and the 1,000 Ghana that I owe is an amount that I shouldn't have owed, and you are disconnecting me, I don't think you are being fair to me. Or you don't see what I'm saying? So I think for the ministry or the minister to say that ECG is commended for that disconnection, and that within that period, I think it's untimely and it's ill-informed. That's it. There's also another aspect of it, which I think needs to be looked at, which is certain sensitive installations should be what? Should be exempted. And the Ministry of Finance is making arrangements to address it. I asked myself, okay, if they are exempted, for how long will this continue? For how long? I mean, what is the long-term plan to deal with the electricity issues of a school like University of Education Winneba? University of Education Winneba, when they are giving government subvention, does it include electricity? And how are they made to be what? To be responsible in the usage of that amount of money that is being budgeted for them? But you see, the irony is that notwithstanding that proposition being made by the ministry, it will interest you to know that as of just yesterday, 1st February, Takoradi Polytechnic is disconnected.
Really?
Yeah. Ghana Web, Takoradi Polytechnic. Disconnected. Look at it. ECG disconnects Takoradi Polytechnic.
It's education.
It's an education.
So the ECG nonetheless went ahead.
So will I be surprised if Monday University of Education Winneba is disconnected?
Yes, because you owe.
You understand what I'm saying? I think it's a bigger picture. And I must say, look, the truth of the matter is that this government has shown commitment in trying to address the electricity issue in this country. But I think it's going to, I have been thinking about this thing And I find it very difficult to understand why we are in this problem. Because, you see, basically what we are being told by the experts is that electricity is one that it's a commodity. You buy the fuel, you run it, and the customer pays for it. You understand? Yeah. So it's just a simple trade. And when you bring that within the remit of, let's say, petrol that we buy, our fuel, I go to buy fuel, I pay for it. Government gets the money, and government goes to buy the. So I don't understand why there's that challenge when it comes to electricity. I think it's more complicated than I think. But I believe that moving forward, something will have to be done in the long term to address this particular issue, because it looks as if most of the burden on the ECG is as a result of subsidy by government. Because if you say, hold on Kolebu, it's subsidy. It's government is taking the bill. So why can't Kolebu be that responsible? Because after all, Kolebu generates income.
And will they eventually be put on the prepaid?
Not necessarily
because
the prepaid.
Then there would be...
I don't know whether it's prepaid or not. It's just that you pay for what you use.
Exactly.
That's the prepaid and the postpaid. If I use postpaid, but if I use electricity, I go to pay for it.
No,
but the thing with prepaid is you pay as you use. So if it runs out, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You buy credit on your phone. Yeah. If it's gone, it's gone.
No, but honorable, if you buy credit on your phone, if it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. But here's the case: you don't even have the money to buy the credit.
Who doesn't have the money?
The institution. That is what is happening.
So that's where it gets more interesting.
Immediately, government is saying that I will pay for an institution like University of Education, Winneba. What it means is that University of Education, Winneba, even when it's giving prepaid or postpaid, it's not in a position to pay. And that is where I think there's a problem. There's a problem in the sense that I think in the longer run, I mean, these institutions will have to be what? Will have to be responsible. Will have to be responsible in terms of, I mean, if the bill will have to be passed over to the ordinary student to pay at the long term, that is what it's going to be.
But let me finish very quick. University vehicle.
University vehicle, the university.
If
there's no fuel. Yeah,
will not move.
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying, that it's not enough to say these institutions should be exempted.
Yes.
It's not enough in the sense that what has been the arrangement? Are the universities or the institutions or the police or whatever it is, are they always giving some budgetary allocation to cater for electricity?
Yes.
They or
don't
not?
Pay them.
If they are not
giving
salaries
and wages, and that is the end.
That's why I said this thing is more complicated and bigger than just because if not, and I gave you a typical example. I gave you an example of Takrade Polytechnic, notwithstanding the fiat being issued.
Which brings in
it depends on the
public. Sorry to catch you, but which brings in the Mr. Malva, I'll come to you. Which brings in the question of how would these institutions be able to cater for themselves in the event that this arrangement isn't there anymore?
No, but if the arrangement is not there, the institutions will have to deal with it. I mean, I remember when
it's easier said than done.
When I was in the university in 1990-2001, there was nothing called internet generated funds. Today, universities have something called internet generated funds, and they use it to develop their institutions. The interesting thing is that at the end of the day, it's the final consumer who is the student who is going to pay for it.
That's the point.
Okay,
please let Amaliba come in.
They said they would have suspended
it. They're
just postponing it. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, if you are reading something from the net, we need to find out whether or not
is that to your source?
That
daily guide,
that order,
is that to your source?
That directive from the ministry came after the disconnection.
It came on the first.
During, yes.
That's what
and it started on the 20th.
So probably this might have happened before the minister said.
No,
I'm saying that you don't take everything that is publicized as a gospel truth.
Okay.
I'm not saying that what you are reading is wrong.
Okay.
It is also unfair to criticize the deputy minister for commending the he said that.
Okay, Doc, respond to him.
I did not criticize him. He said that.
I critique.
It was a critique, exactly.
Yes, I critique.
It is wrong for him to just say that maybe he didn't take that into consideration before commending them. It's possible he being the minister,
name of the minister.
I'm saying that he being the minister would have done those permutations to know that even if you credit some consumers, they will still owe so much. So these are the people we are going for. You don't know that. You don't know that for a fact. So this critique or criticism or whatever you call it,
what's the name of the minister?
I say it's unfair.
To the minister,
for
not the
him to
deputy
have
minister.
to have said what he said.
Let me explain what I said.
Yes, Doc.
Honorable, before you come.
Mr. Maliba, would you want him to respond? Just a minute. Let him land.
Waited for the new bill to take place before the disconnection.
Can I
you
explain?
said that.
Let me explain this very quickly.
But he said that within the context. Yes,
I'm saying that within this past period,
You are commending them for disconnecting.
you are commending them for the step that is being taken. But I said, recently the president said that, look, there have been some anomaly. And I use myself as an example. Let's say I owe ECG 1,000 Ghana today as we speak. And 1,000 Ghana is the threshold.
Yeah.
So I am going to be disconnected. Yeah. But genuinely, there was a system
You haven't consumed that much because of the anomaly.
Pushed.
Yes.
Even if it has pushed it by even 100 Ghana, it goes to 1,000,
Yes.
which means I'm being disconnected.
Yes.
So I would have wished that the mass disconnection exercise should have at least been withheld a little bit for this whole anomaly
To be rectified.
I mean, that was what I said.
And I'm saying that.
I mean,
and I'm saying that.
Are you saying
Before
it has been
possible-
rectified?
Please allow him. Let him.
It's possible
There
they
were
also took
possibilities
into
here.
consideration
Yes.
the percentage
Please
of
allow
reduction.
him.
Because they are there, they know. They would have taken into consideration the percentage of reduction and know that even if you reduce it by this, which we know is going to be the figure, these people will
They're still going
owe
beyond the
much.
threshold.
Exactly. So these permutations would have been done. And my point is, the minister's commendation of the Electricity Corporation could have factored in all these things. So it is wrong for him to say the minister should have waited.
Well, that's fine. Yes. Please move on.
I don't know what.
It's wrong.
Okay, go on.
Go on, I'll finish. It's wrong for him to say that.
Totally, as you know. Very well. Now, yes. So moving on. Again,
So when the government is owing 950, they say that they are releasing 200. When is government
to pay the 750 million.
when will government finish paying its debt? So that the mass disconnection will also stop.
Oh, but the government has said they pay. You just said they pay 200.
They didn't pay. They say they are releasing.
That's what you said that they are
They
releasing.
say they are releasing.
But government will always release it. It will take some processes.
Give me
So
if
government is releasing, government is aware that, and don't forget that this concession would require that we pay off our debts before the new management comes in. So there's a plan to pay off all these debts.
Right, but
And
then
so
there'll still be consumption by the institutions that are not able to pay.
Yes.
And how would this work within the context of a private?
Yes.
Because a private person would definitely go.
Government will always pay, and government would always talk to whoever is in management position that this is our plan to pay. Look,
You say you are
government has
bringing
always
people-
consumed before paying. Since the days of Diago Gianzambuja through to Godisberg to now, government has always consumed before paying. And under the regime, you consume before you paid.
But not at
So
this,
government
at this
would
level.
have an agreement with whoever is now managing ECG to understand that this country would need
How?
some intervention in
How?
it. That you will need to ensure that our hospitals continue to run. That you need to ensure that our schools continue to run.
They should pay what they consume.
Management of the institution would enter into an agreement with government to roll out a payment plan. That is always done.
So that's what you are perhaps envisaging that would happen. But
When
the
does it
reality,
happen? You are
yes.
bringing private people.
Private people
You
who
see
are
they will
concerned.
sit
For me,
down
this
and
is how I'm
listen
looking at it, Mr. Maliba.
Competence.
Private people come into agreement. It's an agreement. It will be factored into the agreement. So that is the agreement that they will be bound with.
Question, would such institutions eventually be moved onto the prepaid system?
Oh, yes.
And then be made
that's a good point,
responsible
because
for...
I know that some ministries have. The court, the former commercial court, is under prepaid. And when the lights go off, it goes, so they have to go and buy. So maybe we may be talking about quickening up the process of metering the institutions so that they will be on prepaid. That
Well,
is
they
one of
will
the
sell
things.
how
to
many
go.
years ago?
But for
time,
now, I can assure you that, and I can tell you, I can confirm that some institutions are under prepaid, and it is being rolled out.
It's been rolled out, but this directive came a couple of
years
years
ago.
back.
Years ago. That's why I even made a point that how come even the new institutions and new facilities that you are providing, they are not on prepaid?
But how can a stadium be on prepaid?
But what else do you want them to do? What else?
Stadium to be on prepaid?
What is wrong with that?
Hey,
No, tell me what is wrong with
it
that.
is wrong because this is a social good. And these are the areas that we are talking about. You can't put a stadium then we are playing World Cup.
No, but
qualifier.
Okay, Mr.
We are playing World Cup qualifier.
But
then the lights go off.
Listen,
Mr.
Then the report is that
if you want to use
please,
if you want to use
please, gentlemen, just a minute.
Or if you
these are the areas that government will intervene.
Mr. Malibas on the floor.
These are the areas that government will intervene.
So you're
like
saying
that. You cannot have all the countries.
Please, just a minute, please, gentlemen.
They make money, so they will have to pay. But you can't put them on prepaid.
One at a time, please, Honorable.
You can't put them on prepaid.
If you want to use allies.
On the day, Sunday, the prepaid people are not working. Sunday. Then
you know how much you have on
very well. Now,
no.
Let me make a
you have the floor. You have the floor.
There's this misconception that if you're on prepaid, you pay more than somebody who's on postpaid. No. The only thing with the prepaid is that, look, do you know there are some people whose mobile phones, they pay monthly?
Yeah.
They pay monthly.
Yeah.
Postpaid.
Postpaid.
How much you use is how much you pay for.
Yeah.
So if I'm using prepaid at a factory, what it means is that depending on how much I consume, is what I buy onto it.
And you should monitor your usage of
and
consumption.
if I don't pay my postpaid, I use postpaid. If I don't pay postpaid, they're going to disconnect me. It's the same as him if he's using prepaid and he doesn't buy credit.
You are a private person. I'm talking about social good.
Please
provide for the welfare needs of these people.
Government
has that responsibility. Government has that responsibility.
Yes, please.
Government has that responsibility.
This is the orientation that we have. That's where we are.
Please allow him. Please don't interject. Please.
They are suffering from identity crisis.
Allow him and
Let
then
me
you
tell
come
you
in.
something. Let me tell you.
Doc.
We are being told that ECG is going to be, there's going to be concession to a private company. Are you trying to tell me that ECG is going to let Kolebu use electricity for free?
When the private sector comes in.
They are not using electricity for free now. The government pays and they pay. You cannot. You
carry on and then I get on to some messages.
For identity crisis.
Who is that?
You NDC.
No.
Okay, please hold your horses. We have just about 5 minutes to wrap up. Let me take some messages. In fact, 3 minutes. Let me take some messages from viewers and listeners. This is coming from Fritz Aqua Duase, New Side Kumasi. It says, lawyer, please, why are you so bent on finding fault with every statement Honorable Obiama says and you skew it to partisan lines? I wonder which lawyer he's talking about.
Oh, I don't 3 lawyers here.
Thanks for the Dr. Tinapo. Thanks for the objectiveness.
I don't host.
So somebody said, Abner, so I know, I have. So the new starch factory 2 is owing. When did they start operation?
Which starch factory?
They discovered all those places.
Hi, Abner, I want
Ayensu
starch factory. Hi, good morning. We need peace in the country, so all politicians should have that in mind. As a Ghanaian, I know who I will vote for, so no amount of blaspheming or propaganda will change my mind. So they should just campaign peacefully, even if their opponents make mistakes. It shouldn't be the opportunity for them to campaign against each other. So our leaders are so greedy, and once you are greedy, it means you are not content. Our politicians should learn to be content with what they get from the services they are meant to offer to the nation. Simple as that. This is Gabriel from Volta region. It says, who pays ECG workers fuel, etc.? ECG came to disconnect us in the health center. So if we also say NHIS is owing us, so if we are not paid, we will not attend to patients, what will happen? The work is a social good.
A new term.
I have listened to this morning since long, and what I can say now is that the NPP MPs claims and talks too much of corrupt and propaganda of the NDC, but they have done nothing to improve our environment. This is from, the name isn't here, but from Ikwapim South. I think this is to you.
To improve our environment.
Mr. Kennedy Japan has so many factories and radio stations in Ghana where he employs workers, including females. Did he? Yes, then before giving them, I'm not going to read those. Both NDC and NPP members, no, this is also incomplete. Please send it again and then we'll read it. I kind of wonder why politicians are so good in covering something that is very unwelcome by the people. You sit and tell Ghanaians that ECG are not doing their job. What's a joke? I pay close to 300 Ghana cedis for 1 month and for just a room. Yes, that's what they are saying. We are fed up. Best from Uforikum, Kumasi. I think this is, unfortunately, this is how far we can come on the show. But thank you to the panelists, Dr. Jinapo, Mr. Maliba, and Honorable Obi Amwa. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
You're a good prophet.